All right. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the afternoon session of the second day of the 7th Congress of the African People's Socialist Party. We have an amazing program this afternoon, and to kick us off will be our amazing Freedom Mass Choir, directed by Ilikia Ngoma. Uhuru. right, we appreciate our choir for that great rendition of Black Power. All right, uhuru. So now I would like to bring forward our chairman, Omalia Shatella, who will give us an overview on the political economy of the African nation. Please welcome Chairman Omalia Shatella. Uhuru.
Thank you very much, brothers and sisters and comrades. Before I begin this discussion, I think I have just a few minutes. Actually, I'm in the opening act for Comrade Deputy Chair Onazine Shatella, who's gone to provide us with an incredible discussion about what we have done in the area of economic development over the last 5 years. But what I would also like to do to begin this discussion, or prior to the beginning of the discussion, is to express real appreciation for my office, for the office of the chair and the comrades who do this very difficult work of trying to make me look good. And that, of course, is Comrade Kenge Mayele, who is my chief of staff, and everybody who's been in touch with my office for any reason has probably had an opportunity to touch bases with her. And then Comrade Iliki Ngoma, who is just here. And Comrade Iliki is my administrative assistant. And Comrade David Lance, who has assumed the responsibility that was once held by Ilikia as, what is David, how do we characterize that office? Director of Media Relations. He does, for me, what that force used to do for Prince. You know, you can't find a picture of Prince that he didn't organize. And of course, the other person in my office is the Director of Security, Comrade Chimaringa Salambayo, who's been moving about relatively surreptitiously in our midst. And I also want to send a real appreciation to all of you comrades who've been working on security. I know that I've felt your presence, and it's been very comforting, you know, knowing that you are here. We want to talk about the question of the political economy of the African nation. It's a discussion that we have all the time, and we have it in barbershops and beauty parlors and unemployment lines and on the jobs when we have it in prisons and universities and things like that, just among the people. We always talk about it even though we don't identify it as political economy as such. The fact is that the motive force in all human society, regardless of what the preachers may say, regardless of what the cultural nationalists may say, the motive force in all human society is the struggle to produce and reproduce real life, real life. And while some people want to say it's culture, religion, or some other things like that, without life, you don't have any of those things. Life is a condition for everything else that we do as human animals. And when we talk about the struggle to produce and reproduce real life, it's really a simple discussion. It's about, for my generation and some subsequent to that, it's about a little Barry White or Al Green and somebody you can call up or roll over or do something. It's reproducing ourselves as a species, as human beings. We do that. And I know we don't think we don't characterize it, we don't write poems about coming over and let's reproduce real life. But that poem that we write, when we do write poems, the music that we put on, and I almost said drink of wine, but then that probably brings Bill Cosby to mind. But the fact is that, that's a part of the process that we are permanently always involved in. It is an absolute condition for our existence. It is the motive force for human society to produce and reproduce real life. That's one aspect of it. And then another aspect of that is the development of the productive forces themselves. That is what it takes for us to feed, clothe, and house ourselves. This is something, and it's ongoing development, and it's ongoing maturation. This is a process of the struggle that humans are engaged in all the time to produce and reproduce real life. And the world that we live in is one where the majority of the people on the planet Earth, you must really think about this, do not have clean water, do not have shelter, decent shelter, who live in places like we've just seen in Sierra Leone, where bad rain can create a mudslide that destroys entire communities, when we're looking at Africa again, we're talking about a situation where in Sierra Leone, the average lifespan is 37 years old, so that by the age of 20, somebody's middle-aged. This is the world that we live in. I think it was just overnight, was it Singapore, where we've seen this incredible, was it a flood in Singapore? Indonesia. That they estimate might kill 8,000 people. And we're looking at what appears to be a failure in the ability to produce and reproduce real life. We live in this country, which is much different, obviously, than what we see in Sierra Leone or Congo or Haiti, for example, or in these concentration camps that they call Indian reservations, where the lifespan may be on the average 40 years old. When we're looking at all of these things, it's an assault on the ability of the people to produce life, to produce and reproduce real life. And this is something that we live with to the point that we get accustomed to it. When you live in a situation where, like in this city, I think since the beginning of the year, more than 120 African people, mostly young people, have been killed by gun violence. This impacts on the lifespan of the people. In Sierra Leone, where 1 out of every 8 African women will die in childbirth. This is what we are talking about. And the reason we're having this discussion is for almost the last 600 years, this phenomenon has affected life on the planet Earth, affected all life on the planet Earth, to the point that even the the earth itself is being challenged in terms of future existence. And certainly Africans and colonized peoples of the world. I toss these figures out all the time. And where today we live in a world where 1 out of every 10 human beings on the planet Earth, is that right? 1 out of every 10 human beings, or no, 80% of the people on Earth. And this is good for the 99 percenters. 80% of human beings on the planet Earth trying to survive of $10 US or less a day, where 50% of the people on the planet Earth are trying to survive of $2.50 or less a day, and where on the continent of Africa, people really spend all day just to get a single meal. This is the world that we live in, and it's absolutely unnatural, especially when you look at Africa. And today, there are very few people, let me say very few informed people who would argue with the fact that human life itself has its origin in Africa. And if you know that human life began in Africa, it tells us that Africa is not naturally opposed to life. Life is not unnatural in Africa. It is, again, where human life began. So something has impacted on Africa. Something has impacted the rest of the world. And again, what we have is, at least for the last nearly 600 years, this phenomenon, this force that we now call imperialism, of course, it really was Europe leaving a very difficult and hostile situation and imposing its will on the rest of the world. Europe, where the struggle for the creation of life was problematic in so many different ways, where nature itself was hostile in so many different ways to human life. And Europe that stresses out leaves Europe and goes into other places around the world. And in the process of doing this, initiates a situation, a process where life, real life, is produced at the expense of others. Real life in Europe is produced at the expense of others. When I say that, when we talk about the situation and lifespans of African people, it is not to say that we do not produce life. When we talk about the conditions in the concentration camps that they call Indian reservations, which is not to say that they do not produce life. What it is to say is that we do not produce life for ourselves as a people. Life is produced even in these concentration camps that they call Indian reservations. All of the Americas, as it's now known, was custody of these indigenous peoples who now threatened with the capacity to create and recreate life, to produce and reproduce life, as a consequence of this phenomenon that we now call imperialism or capitalism and what have you. So it's really important for us to understand that, because all of us want to be able to live. And as I said, in barbershops and every place, people have these discussions. They talk about how we don't have enough to eat, we don't have enough to live. They talk about drugs in our community and why people are selling drugs. You know why people sell drugs? You see why you see a concentration of drugs in colonized, impoverished communities is because people are struggling to create and recreate life, to produce and reproduce life using what appears to be only avenues that's open to us to be able to do it. It's what I've characterized in the past as the wolf licking the blade, where you think you're getting over, and actually what you're doing is simply engaging in something that's killing us as opposed to feeding us. And we have met in the past, especially young Africans, who've actually thought that they were engaging in beating the man, as we put it, by selling drugs and other things like that. But this appears to be, this is the only door that has been left open to many of us. And of course, that affects the real ability to produce and reproduce life. So the struggle that we engaged in, the struggle against colonialism, is to recapture our ability to produce life for Africans. We have produced life for the last 500 years for imperialism and white power. We have produced life for them at the expense of ourselves. And that is true of the vast majority of the peoples of the world. And they don't get this in the barbershops, right? And they're not taught this in the universities. Again, because the universities cannot teach this. To teach this is to engage in an active condemnation of the social system and the society that they live in that's provided them the wealth. If they can't say that the land we live on is land that was taken from the indigenous people, how the hell are they going to go beyond that? How can you live in what they call America? How can you live and say we're happy and prosperous? How can you understand that you're on the land of indigenous people here and indigenous can't make it, and yet you making it like hell? You're getting over. You are the only ones getting over. It is because that life is being produced not for the indigenous people, but for the people and the entity that came into it and attacked the life of here. It's a parasite that has infested the body of humanity, and that can only exist as a consequence of taking life from its host. And that's what the colonized peoples of the world are. We function as the host for this parasitic world economy. And I think it's important for us to understand we're talking about a world economy. We are not talking about just something that's happening in Houston. It is a world economy. It was born as a world economy. And this world economy dominates everybody and sets the terms for how the rest of us live. And so the struggle that we're involved in, discussion that we want to have, is a part of the discussion to recapture the capacity to produce life for ourselves as African people, to produce life for ourselves. This is sometimes instinctively understood by Africans when they say, I ain't gonna work for the white man. So I'm gonna become a barber, a bank robber, a dope pusher, or something, but I'm not gonna work for the white man. What they have done through slavery and the rest of us is that they have imposed this horrible negative about labor. And of course, labor produces all value in the world. But they make people hate labor. In fact, they don't even talk about the working class in this country. They talk this so-called middle class and whatever because labor is hated. And one of the reasons labor is hated, the concept of labor, even by laborers, is because of its association with the enslaved and the colonized. The enslaved and the colonized. So what we're struggling for is to recapture the capacity to produce life for ourselves. That's why people pick up the gun. That's why you have guerrillas who will go through all kinds of situations in jungles and marshes to make revolution. That's why you even have people who strap bombs and explosives to their own bodies to thrust themselves in the middle of this dominant social force, this dominant power that's extracting life and value from everybody else as a natural consequence of its existence. So the party, that's why we talk about that politics is simply concentrated economics. It's concentrated economics. And this is something that most of us do not understand and most of us miss. We say the politics and economics, one, it's one. And the political program of the party reflects the economic interests of the masses of our people to seize control of the ability to produce and reproduce life for ourselves, to take our land, to take our talent, our resources for ourselves that will benefit ourselves and benefit our people in our Africa. That's what this Congress is about, and that's what the report that we're going to be hearing next from Comrade Onizene should tell us about. We've been rather confused about this question for a long time. There's some people who've said that if you're talking about creating a bank, and if you're talking about creating the kind of economic institutions that we create, that you are some kind of capitalist. And I'm reminded of Lenin and the Bolsheviks, again, when they seized power in 1917. And when they took power, they really didn't know if they were going to be able to hold power. And I read about how all of them in the Central Committee are sitting in this room that, and they're sitting on their suitcases and in their overcoats and what have you, not knowing if the army or somebody's going to come in and shoot them and kick them out. And they are struggling with trying to get money to fund the government that they are in the process of trying to create. Where are we going to get the money? They said, well, we get the money from the bank. But they didn't know anything about running banks. This is literal truth. Lenin was a genius. He didn't know anything about running a damn bank. Trotsky didn't know. None of them knew anything about running a bank. So how are we going to get the money? They said, well, go to the bank, send somebody to the bank, and tell them we need this amount of money. And they sent somebody to the bank, and the banks told them, we ain't giving you nothing. You're not getting any money here. So they literally had to send a military force to rob the bank, to fund the government that they were in the process of creating. So what we are saying is, while not being opposed to robbing the bank, we want to know how to run the bank and have the bank and to those people who say that creating economic institutions is somehow capitalism, we say, you say that because you don't understand what capitalism is. Because capitalism is a social system that's based on private ownership of the means of production and expropriating value from the labor of the working class. We're saying that the working class now is creating these institutions so that when we go to power, we know how to govern. We're in the process of governing and running our own affairs. When the Bolsheviks took over, they didn't say, okay, there's not going to be any more industry now that the socialists or the communists are in power. They had to find a way to make it work for them. When the Cubans went to power, they took a guerrilla, Che Guevara, and put him over the money. That was a state of desperation because the only ones they would have had to do it is the bourgeoisie or the petty bourgeoisie. Che might not have known anything about the money, but he understood something about the gun. The Russians knew something about the gun too. That's why they say if we want to get the money, send the gun over to the bank to get the money, right? What we're saying is we control the gun and the bank. And this is what it has to be about. So I want to be clear about this. We are communists, and we intend to govern. And we understand that socialism, Bernie Sanders, socialism is that point in time where the working class has seized control of the means of production and function as the state. That's what socialism is. Socialism is not some kind of hippiedom like Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco during the height of making love and not war. Socialism recognizes you got to make war before you can make love. You understand? So, I don't want anybody to think that I'm against making love. So, here's where we are. This is the process that we're involved in. I tried to inject what I would characterize as humor, and you have been kind to me up to now, faking it. But this is what it's all about. This is what the struggle. We have to feed and clothe and house ourselves. And the question is in whose possession, what social force, what class will own and control the means of production? What class will do that? We're saying the African working class will own and control the means of production. And its advanced detachment is opening the door to this process right now. Uhuru.
To bring forward the Deputy Chair of the African People's Socialist Party, Deputy Chair Onozine Yeshitela, and her powerful office, presenting a workshop on dual and contending power, where the economic and political are one. Deputy Chair Onozine Yeshitela leads the many institutions of the economic front of the African People's Socialist Party, as we will see today, including the Black Power Blueprint project here in St. Louis, which is transforming the north side of St. Louis. I now bring you Deputy Chairwoman Onozine Yeshitela and her office. So we're going to make a quick little change here to the stage. In the meantime, I would like to make an announcement that dinner reservations have been made at Gokul Indian Restaurant for 7 p.m. The address is 6101 Del Mar Boulevard, St. Louis, 63112. If you're interested in participating in the dinner, and Chairman will be at the dinner this evening, from what I understand. If you're interested in participating in the dinner, please go to see Comrade Columbai in the back. We also want to make sure that if you have made if you've answered the call to make regular donations to the party, that you see Comrade Brandy in the back, to be able to set up those donations.
All right, so we want to introduce the Office of the Deputy Chair. We will start with the video called Dual and Contending. The workshop is Dual and Contending State Power, where the economic and political are one. And the first video is how the party becomes the vanguard. Uhuru.
What I want to do now, I want to call up current leadership of the International African Revolution, the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, Omala Yeshitela.
It was during one of my frequent prison stints that it became clear to me that the era of protest politics was over, that our people had to really fight for power, and that meant we had to have a political party, the most effective vehicle for capturing and wielding political power. It became clear that black power had to be translated as our own black state power.
Of Chairman Omali Yeshitela for his vision, brilliant leadership, and tenacious fight for the liberation of African people and oppressed people worldwide. And saluting Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela for implementing the Chairman's vision and uniting the political and economic as one in the struggle for dual and contending power. In 1968, while on a 5-year prison sentence for tearing down a colonialist mural that hung in St. Petersburg, Florida City Hall, Chairman Omali Yeshitela formed JOMO, the hunter of militant organizations, and launched the Burning Spear newspaper. In 1972, JOMO became the African People's Socialist Party, a party dedicated to the fight for black power.
So that by 1964, when the first Civil Rights Bill was passed, and then 1965, when the Voting Rights Act was passed, it all should have been over effectively because the basic democratic rights that the movement was struggling for had been achieved. But it hadn't been achieved for the masses of African workers and poor people who were able to determine that yes, the preachers and the lawyers and the rest of it, you got what you want, but what we want and need is black power. And the demand for black power did more than anything. What it did was change or expose the real nature of the struggle that we were involved in, and made it clear that we're not out here trying to struggle to change anybody's mind. What we want is power over our own lives. And when the movement determined that the issue was power, what it did was put itself in the same level as all the other revolutionary struggles of oppressed people happening everywhere in the world. It became an anti-colonial movement. At the juncture, the issue became one of power. When they said power, it united with the struggles being led by people like Che Guevara, not only throughout Latin America, but in Africa and all the oppressed and fighting peoples of the world. That became a crucial issue.
Even with the heroic struggles of the African people in this country and of African and oppressed people all over the world, our revolution was defeated.
And so a movement was crushed down. We had a situation where the whole community, for years, the African community, we lived in an era that we characterized one of demoralization and defeat, where you couldn't even talk to the masses about revolution, where the people, the last memory that people had of revolution were tanks in the streets, militants being assassinated, and they would kill people in very exemplary ways. The way they killed King, shot him in the mouth, the way they assassinated Malcolm, the way they killed Fred Hampton. They didn't have to kill any of those folk in that way.
And we've almost lost Detroit this time. How would we ever get over?
Despite the counterinsurgency led by the U.S. government. Over the next 2 decades, the chairman led the party to bring the African working class back into its political life, to complete the Black Revolution of the 60s. And although the party had been leading the African Revolution for decades at this point, in 1986, an historic symbolic passing of the torch from the Black Panther Party to the African People's Socialist Party took place at the Uhuru House in Oakland, California. It was the party that supported Huey P. Newton and gave him the platform for his last speeches prior to his assassination.
And sometimes they flare across the sky like a shooting star, and you can't ever forget them. Sometimes, just for that period of time, history will thrust forward forces so that we recognize Huey P. Newton as that. Somebody says what Huey P. Newton was a few weeks ago. That's not what was important about Huey P. Newton. Even the people who attempt to use who Huey P. Newton was last month did not hate him for what he was last month. They hated him for that time when he stood so tall that everybody in the world had to recognize in Huey P. Newton there stands oppressed black people when we stand at our full stature. It was in Huey P. Newton that they saw us all, and therefore he received the wrath of an oppressive system that was designed to crush us all. He was in the center of the hurricane that bombed and attempted to annihilate the whole people of Vietnam. He was in the center of the hurricane that attempted to keep the people of Cuba oppressed forever, and he stood up against that. He was in the center of the hurricane of a system that was born of the enslavement of African people and possibly in the process of sojourn, the destruction of 1/10 billion black people. Huey P. Newton faced them.
But you might not have a Black Panther Party, but you have a Uhuru House. You might not have the Black Panther newspaper, but you have a burning spear. So they really haven't done anything crushing our world.
The party survives the attack by the U.S. government on the liberation struggles of the 1960s. But it does not simply survive, it advances the struggle.
The struggle for dual and contending power is a fight by African workers in our own interest for our own benefits to win our liberation. The African People's Socialist Party has tied its program for economic development and organizational self-reliance to the anti-colonial political objective of creating dual and contending state power, a power which would contend with the capitalist colonialist state for authority over the lives of African people within current U.S. borders.
Over the following decades, the African People's Socialist Party continued building dual and contending institutions as part of the struggle to complete the Black Revolution of the 60s. We waged tireless struggle and saw victory after victory for the African working class, both political and economic. Through this process of struggle, the party would come to recognize that the political and economic are one. The party would become the Vanguard organization of the African Revolution. poised to continue its fight for liberation of Africa and African people. In his political report, the chairman clearly defined the work of the office of the deputy chair for the next 5 years, leading up to this seventh party Congress. As quoted by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onazane Yeshitela was tasked with leading the Office of Economic Development and Finance that has the responsibility for the economic work of the party while developing and promoting economic development for the entire colonially dispersed African nation.
Uhuru comrades, welcome to the presentation of the Office of the Deputy Chair entitled Dual and Contending State Power, where the economic and political are one. As has been stated, at each Congress of the African People's Socialist Party, the chair of the organization produces a political report that sums up the current period of the African liberation struggle and our party, and it lays out the organizational and ideological strategy over the next 5-year period. During the previous Congress, the 6th Congress of the African People's Socialist Party, the chairman put forth the African People's Socialist Party ratified the strategy to be implemented over the next 5 years. The deputy chair of the party read the report page by page and went to work to make it real and to make real its objectives. The first presentation of the Office of the Deputy Chair's report to the 7th Party Congress of the African People's Socialist Party will show incredible work that Deputy Chair Onazane Yeshitela led to carry out the mandates and vision of the party's 6th Congress. Comrades, stand up for the leader of the ODC and the leader of the economic institutions of the African People's Socialist Party, Comrade Deputy Chair Onazane Yeshitela.
The pressure is on. Uhuru comrades, Uhuru, I'm just really, really excited to be here today. Like I said on yesterday, this is my 3rd Congress, and this is incredible. But we have I have 15 minutes for this presentation, but I just want to say a few things before I get started. And I just wanted to say that you could be anything you want to be in this party. I mean, truly, I'm an example of that. I am from the African working class, the Black African working class, and it's incredible. I've been around the movement since 1994, and I joined the party in 2010, actually. But I actually was in NPDUM. I did a lot of work at NPDUM. I actually started the first buying club for the party in St. Petersburg, Florida. But I just want to say that one of the things that really made me join this organization was, I've never told this person this before, but this comrade is doing work, she was doing work in Africa, and she is a director of APDEP. And she was pregnant with her 3rd child. And after she had the baby, immediately after she had the baby, she left going to Sierra Leone to do the work. And that commitment that she showed, the depth of, the freedom for our people, fighting for the liberation of our people. And it just made me say that I had to join this party, and that was Dr. Aisha Fields. So I just say, for the people who are on the fence about joining the party, there's nothing else out there for you, really. And I salute all the people that came forward on yesterday to join this party, because we need you. We need you in this work, and you have to be in this work because we got a lot of work to do. So I just want to go ahead and get started. We got an amazing workshop for you, and I don't know if everybody was able to get the playbill. So we have, first we had the video showing how we became the Vanguard, and then I'm going to do the victories of since 2013. I don't know how I'm going to do it in 15 minutes, but I left out a lot of stuff. This is just a short version of everything that we've taken on since the Six-Party Congress in 2013 up until today. So, I got the clicker. So first I want to recognize my leadership, Chairman Omali Shatella, who is just incredible. And I just want to say that, there's no leader like the chairman, because where can you go and just really just be able to talk to our leadership? Like, put your hands on him, pick up the phone and call him, email him, Facebook him. You can't do that and he answer. So I just really want to just really shout out Chairman Omali Shatella for your leadership and your vision for everything that you do. So one of the first things that I did when I joined the party, I'm sorry? Put your hands on what? Put my hands on what? Anyway. So one of the first things that I really recognized that we needed to do in 2013 was I wrote a resolution around rewriting our organizational manual. So our organizational manual, we formed a committee of the NCC at the time, and we went through the old manual, and we just really got down to the business of really developing the policies and procedures of how this party was going to move. So every party member that comes into the organization is given an organizational manual that outlines anything that you want to know, from hygiene to how to become a cadre, how to, if you had disciplinary actions and you want to appeal those actions, anything that you want to know is listed in this organizational manual. So that's one of the first things that I developed when I came into the party. So rules of party discipline, application of disciplinary measures, types of disciplinary measures. If you get arrested, what should you do? It lays it out. Drug and alcohol policy, sexual harassment, all these things are covered in our organizational manual and more. So, yes. So we also establish office hours, because how are you going to be a revolutionary organization if you don't have a place to organize? And you have to have operational hours. You have to say that I'm going to be at the office so even though we're revolutionaries 24 hours a day, we had to have set office hours. So we established operational hours and staffing of the office. So also, when I first came into the movement, I was assigned to the office of the chairman. So I was the chief of staff. I'm what Ikenge was then. So one of the things that I wanted to do was establish an administrative regulation for the NCC meetings, because we wanted to, really be organized. So we have our meetings every January, April, July, and October of every year. And then we created agendas. We know what, you have to get your agenda items in, like in advance to the Secretary General. There was just protocols that we laid out to ensure that the NCC meetings are run accordingly. We also established in the Office of the Chair the APSP, Uhuru Movement Acknowledgement and Recognition Program, and you saw a little bit of that last night at our ball. So we established the Buko Lumumba Comrade of the Quarter Award, which is, recognition is something that doesn't happen all the time. And this is one of the ways that we are, we recruit and retain all of our members through this recognition program. So we also have the Marcus Garvey Comrade of the Year, and we also have the Omali Ishitela Award as well. And we have other awards like Community Leaders Awards, Leadership Awards. We have all different kind of awards. So this was something that was established in the Office of the Chair. We also have cadre development schools. I think I've been to maybe 3 of them. And the Office of the Chairs is assigned to do different workshops in these cadre development. And we get real creative in this process. We develop POAs. We teach people how to learn about finances and budgets. And, we just have fun with it. And it's just a 30-day cadre school where the party comes together and develop our cadre forces. And we, hold the different workshops and trainings. So promoting the Office of the Chair, what I realized is that the economic needed to be bridged with the political. So what we did was we got with Burning Spear newspaper, and we developed our own page. Now we have the Office of the Deputy Chair page in the Burning Spear newspaper, so every month you will get an article on our institutions, anything talking about the economic work that we're doing all over the world. So those are just more pages. We also, I was tasked with helping Agitprop to develop a means of raising resources, so I developed the Burning Spear Kit, which consisted of all the chairman's books and publications and writings of people, not just the chairman, but Chairwoman Penny Hess, Overturning the Culture of Violence. Any kind of propaganda that we have that on the kit now, where every department and organization was tasked with having to buy this kit for their area, which is like $300. So that was a way that Agitprop could raise money, and also a way for the regional representatives to raise money in their areas. So one of the biggest things that I did coming into the work was develop and created Uhuru Design Studio, which is led by Charles Oliver. All the videos, and I just want to just say, all the videos, all the propaganda that you see coming out of the Office of the Deputy Chair is created by Charles Oliver, who is our senior graphics designer. And Charles is amazing. I mean, really amazing. And the video that you just seen, he created that whole video for this office. I know Charles is going to be coming up to the stage when we give my next report, but Charles, can you stand up if you're in the audience? Uhuru. Charles actually came to our organization through volunteer, and I was talking to him one day, and I was like, what is it that you do? He was a teacher, and then he was telling me that he did graphic designs, and ever since that day, he was assigned to my office and has been producing these beautiful literatures, videos, and everything. So we created this department, and these are some of the literature that he's produced. He produced the 2013 souvenir brochure, and if you look in your packet, he created the 2018 souvenir brochure. I don't know if people have saw that in your packet today. It's beautiful. Karaoke night. And one of the things that we wanted to do was open it up where Charles can be more independent, where he can build that office and bring in other designers to help, facilitate what the party needs, because people are always asking Charles to do work. So we want to bust that open and, be able for him to, really increase the amount of money that he makes through having his own entity within the party. So he also created the annual logo, which is the African women up top. That was the logo that he created. The Buy Black Power logo, the African Braiding Freedom Movement logo, Planet Uhuru, APDF. He rebranded everything. It's just amazing. So I just want to say that the party, we traveled to Ghana and Tanzania this year, and this is one of the things that that I was assigned to do was to really bring economic development, teaching the comrades in Ghana and Tanzania how to do POAs, how to do fundraisers, how to get on track for the economic work. So these are just some of the pictures of us in Ghana and in South Africa. So we also, one of the things that I realized as well is that we really needed to brand all of our institutions. And as we looked at branding, we really wanted to make everything uniform. And it actually increased the sales of all of our institutions, especially like Uhuru Foods and Pies, where we rebranded it and took it out in the world, and people was just impressed with all of our, booths, our aprons, our hats, everything matches, and it made people come and buy more food, actually. So this is some of the branding that we did for Uhuru Foods and Pies. The Africans 1 Billion Strong Donor Campaign, we created our newsletter. Charles did all the rebranding on that. Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles, we rebranded that with our new logo. And then we laid out all the different institutions of APEDF. Created BSI on the Move and APDF on the Move, just really trying to be able to get the propaganda out to the community to let them know that it's not just about one organization, but we have many organizations that they can be a part of. So one of the number one things that the chairman talked about in the Fifth Party Congress is that we had to recruit. So we developed the NTU Volunteer Brigade. We developed a manual that speaks to how the volunteer program would work in every area, because in the economic work, volunteers is the backbone of how we, gain resources. So we wanted to not just leave it to the economic work. We opened it up to the entire party so they could be able to have a volunteer manual that they can do and carry out the volunteer program in their area. So one of the things that I was tasked with too, that, if you're not familiar with the cruise, we're going to be going on a cruise in December, from December 9th to the 15th, I think. One of the cruises I was on, and when I got off the cruise, the cruise is like, is a relaxation thing for the party. And it gives you time to really relax and, just think about everything that you want to do. So after the cruise 2 years ago, I came back with an idea that we should just, really concentrate on reproducing what we have. So we decided to just concentrate on reproducing the Uhuru GCO. We did GCO in St. Petersburg, and now we're going to be doing GCO in St. Louis, Missouri. And we also renovated the Uhuru House in Oakland, California. One of the first things we done was we had the furniture store warehouse sale at the Uhuru House. And this is like the first sale that we had at Aquaba Hall in Oakland, California. And then we started the renovation process. And this Kingozi, you know, we just, at the same time that we were renovating the Uhura House, we were also renovating the furniture store as well. So we was working simultaneously. I think it took us about 3 months to do both institutions. And this is, we have the Omali Shatella Library there. There's Red Beer helping, and Bakri and Siali doing the artwork on the wall. And this is some of the finished products of the Aquaba Hall in Oakland. And that's just us tired, you know, after a long day work. Yeah, we did the furniture store actually in Philadelphia as well. We found a new location off of Broad Street. It's a two-story building with a basement. And we also introduced Enzo, which is the African Styles at Home and Abroad. This is a spin-off business that we did because we realized that just selling furniture wasn't enough, especially in the winter times when things are slow. We wanted to start looking at ways that we can reproduce and develop other spin-off businesses. So we decided that we would paint furniture with African print. And this is one of the greatest ideas that we've ever come up with, and it's very good and profitable. So we also created the Human Resource Manual for APDF. We attended our first NARCS conference where we actually got the idea to paint furniture, and we wanted to really professionalize our staff. And we knew that we had to, you know, go out and get some training. So we took, you know, this is one of the NARCS training that we attended. I think that one was in Arizona, where the comrades from the furniture stores, Bakri was there. The Office of the Chair also participated in this particular one. We initiated the new sales system so we can really become computerized with our labels on all of the furniture now that, you know, that we can track and do data. We wanted to really create data to see, you know, what was selling the best, how much our sales were. So we professionalized our point of sale system. And we also strengthened it with our security system as well. And then we renovated the Tyrone Lewis Community Gym in St. Petersburg. And the Africans 1 Billion Strong Donor Campaign is one of the oldest campaigns in the party. And you witnessed that campaign yesterday when we raised over $84,000 for the party. We also did an Africa tour, the tour that we just left South Africa and Ghana. This was the campaign we did to raise the resources for the party to be able to go to Africa. It's called Africa Must Unite. Let's see. So the economic development strategies and training to every department and organization. So we created the Marcus Garvey's Legacy Cruise. It was a fundraiser for the Office of the Chair and the ASI. So every year we have this cruise, and we have a really good time, and it's also a way to raise money to contribute to the Office of the Chair and the work of Secretary General Loizy. We also met with APDEP for about 2.5 years to develop Zenzele consignment, which was a very big deal. And Zenzele is going strong right now. I think we're going into our third year with Zenzele. We also created Uzi, Thread of Freedom, that came out of my office as well. And we handed it over to President Colombaye, and she has taken off with it. As you can see, there's a whole line of Uzi at every convention event that we have. We also created Infinity Match, a speed dating social event. that some of the comrades took on to raise money for their organization. We also created Vanguard 7 lipstick collection. It's really, that was just done as a way for us to raise resources for the Congress, for my office. But it's been taken off, and I was approached also by one of the comrades. They want to put it in their beauty salon. So we want to just keep it going. We also met with Uhuru Solidarity Movement and created revenue streams, ways that they could raise money for the party, birthday funds, days of reparations to African people, the Midwest regional fundraising capacity, the art for reparations. Uhuru Planet was also redeveloped. Just different ways that we could raise resources for the various organizations. We also created, and I'll talk more about this in my next presentation, Africonomy, which is going to be the radio show for the Office of the Deputy Chair. We also created and did a play called A Evening with Malcolm, Martin, and Marcus back in 2016 that featured Ron Bob Semple and some of the comrades in the movement. And one of the biggest things that we realized that the chairman really has been fighting for was us to gain property. So we purchased homes in St. Petersburg. We have property here in St. Louis that we've renovated. Now we have property acquisition to house some of our comrades, and also just to have for, as a way of creating commerce in our community. And this particular fourplex is in St. Louis here, where we're still in the process of renovating. And then we have the Black Power Blueprint. And what we're going to do is show a quick video of all the work that has happened last year and this year of the Black Power Blueprint. Time's up. Okay.
So baby, can't even get mad at you. What a thing, you really sweet, and I feel so good, it's true. You're such a gun, make my lungs out, breathing in the air. Through loving you, I really know, child, just how much I care. Give me your love.
Wow. Well, we just got your donation to the Black Power Blueprint, and we can't thank you enough. Because of you, the conditions in the African community is improving every day. Please share our page with your friends and family and let them know what's going on here in St. Louis. We'll be posting weekly updates on the development so you can see where your contribution is going. Check us out on our weekly live shows on YouTube and Facebook. Come on, get involved. See you soon. Uhuru. So I just want to say that the work that has been going on in the past 5 years, don't even touch on all the stuff that we've done. And I want to just really appreciate my team. I have an incredible team of people that really work very, very hard in the economic arena. And I want to go ahead and get ready to call them up. So I want to call up T'Challa. Uhuru. Okay. Brandy. Ali. Kara. T'Challa is from St. Louis. Brandy is from St. Louis. Ali is from Philadelphia. Kara is from Oakland, California. Zanzile is from St. Louis. Charles Oliver is from St. Petersburg. Tiffany Murphy is from Philadelphia. King Gozi is originally from Oakland, but now in Maryland. Janine is from Oakland. Kota is from Philly. Musa is from Chicago. Janice Bryant is from Philadelphia. Kitty Riley is based in St. Louis right now. C. Alley is from Oakland. Pete is from Oakland. Joe, I don't know if Joe will be here tomorrow. Redbud is from San Francisco. Tommy is from St. Petersburg. Janice Kant is from St. Petersburg. Bakari is from Oakland. Opa is from Ohio. Zion is from St. Petersburg. Susha is from Oakland. Maureen is from Oakland. Isoke is from St. Louis. Andre is from St. Louis. Stephanie Mittler is from Oakland. And Aaliyah is from St. Louis. So can we move this back? Or
To the center.
do you want me to move it?
To the center. Okay. So the next section, can you all hear me? The next section of our overall report, Dual and Contending State Power, whether economic and political are one, is themed inside the ODC after the program that you may have seen on television.
I didn't call up Allie. I thought I did. Allie Haney.
So the program is themed inside the ODC after the program you may have seen on television called Inside the Actor's Studio. This report is a continuation of the ODC's successes and contradictions in carrying out the mandates captured in the six-party Congress. You will see here a series of questions divided by each of the party's regional hubs: Western region, Northeast region, Southeast region, and Midwest region. Each region will engage the moderator in a conversation about the wins and contradictions of each of the economic institutions within the region. For example, our furniture store, Uhuru Furnitures and Collectibles, our foods business, Uhuru Foods and Pies, and the Uhuru houses and Aquaba halls contained within each of the regional hubs. It is my pleasure to introduce the ODC and our next report entitled Inside the ODC. So we will begin with the Western region, or the regional hub in the West. And this was a region that the party first went into following the murder of Huey P. Newton, and we went in to rescue the revolution and to rebuild it following the murder of Huey P. Newton. So it is the home of the oldest existing Uhuru house, as well as Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles. So we want to introduce Bakari Olatunji as the moderator for the Western Regional Hub, Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, T'Challa. As T'Challa said, my name is Bakari Olatunji. I work within the Office of Deputy Chair with Uhuru Foods and Pies in Oakland, California. And I have a few questions that I'm gonna ask of the Western region. Can everybody from Western region just raise your hand? All right, Uhuru.
And those in the back will need to stand when you speak and speak loud.
All right. So what I wanna do is tell us of any transformations at the Uhuru House over the last 5 years. And you don't all have to speak at the same time. Ken Gozi, tell me a little bit.
Uhuru, I'm Ken Gozi. I'm originally from Oakland, California. The renovations on the Uhuru House is what brought me to the movement. I was passing by one day and they had a sign that said Clothing's Drive. And I walked in there and it was probably the first time I'd been in the building. And just looking at the conditions of it, I asked Bakari, were they ever going to do any improvements? And if they did, let me know, because I had a few skills. That led on to other things, but that's when I met DeCiona when she came to Oakland. And we put a plan together, and we put in work, and transformed into what it is today.
All right. Uhuru. All right. So Redbeard, what about the back porch and the stairs needed rebuilding?
Right after Deputy Chair led the successful renovation of the Uhuru House and really made it happen in a fantastic way, the dilapidated back porch and back stairs were kind of the last piece, I think. And we had talked about it for a while, doing it. And it was a team effort, of course, led by the Deputy Chair, Sayali, and Bakari, who gave us access to the Uhuru House. And then two comrades who spent a lot of years in the movement. Bill Canada was in APSC for a while. He actually designed and led the construction. And Ron Stade, another fantastic craftsman. And the two of them really made it happen. It was a terribly unsafe situation, and they resolved it. And for my part, I was just a laborer. I took stuff to the dump, and but I want to give those skilled workers the credit for making that happen.
Ken Gozi, I hear you like planting gardens.
Oh, a little something like that. My family always grew and grew food. Since a kid, we were always turning over dirt and cutting rows, and then my mom would do the planting. My grandfather grew food, and when I came to the Uhuru House, I noticed there were above-ground plots in the back, because they did renovations and previously had a garden, but it had grown up. And I was allowed to clean the backyard and resurrect the garden. And it was quite successful. Tried to trump up a lot of neighborhood support. We had some, but it fed a lot of people in the community. Because I learned from Amilcar Cabral that garden is revolution. You know, in a food desert, you can produce your own food and starve your oppressor economically, and your food supply can't be cut off if you're at war. Uhuru.
Right, Uhuru. Wasn't the Uhuru furniture going through renovations a few miles away from the Uhuru House during the time that they were renovating?
Uhuru. My name is Stephanie. I'm a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and I'm going to stand up. And yes, just maybe 5 miles from the Uhuru House at that same time, Deputy Chair led the renovation of Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles. We had decided to expand into the storefront next to us as opposed to moving out of the area to a bigger building, because that is Uhuru turf. Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles has been there since 1989. Uhuru Furniture, or Uhuru Foods and Pies, has the Saturday morning market right up the street for a lot of years, and we've been there on that strip, and that is our turf. So we decided to, instead of moving out, claim that even more, and we expanded Uhuru Furniture. We doubled our space. It was 850 square feet originally, which, if you know anything about square footage, it's tiny, just tiny. And furniture, we stacked like 4 sofas like on top of each other, and customers, you couldn't see the customers because it was just, they were going in between the furniture. So being able to expand really, like everything the Deputy Chair showed in that video about professionalizing and rebranding and everything, it really made Uhuru Furniture go to the next level. And yeah, it was 29 days. We demoed the new store, we renovated it, and then the whole team moved Uhuru Furniture next door, and then we closed next door, demoed that, renovated that, and then we moved back into the old space and held the grand reopening that Deputy Chair planned to happen on the same day as the grand reopening of the Uhuru House on MacArthur. Uhuru.
I recall some of that work like it was yesterday. There was a call by DC to make the institutions be reproducible. How do you see that reflected in the second Aquaba Hall? And I can answer that, simply because I was there. And the fact that I was with DC, and as people were saying, the work that we did there, I don't think is equal to work we've seen here in St. Louis. The transformation I've seen here was remarkable, but the work we did in Oakland, I feel, was remarkable as well. We renovated the building that we had. We reproduced what we already had in Florida. We saw the rebranding of what was going on there at St. Petersburg, Uhuru House. When I saw some of the first designs that we came out with plans, I say that looked like it has DC owners' touch on it. You can just look at certain things. When you walk into a room, I know that owner had her 2 cents in that. And I think that when we saw the designs for the Uhuru House in Oakland before we actually started doing the renovations work, was powerful. It was really powerful. And when you go into the Uhuru House in St. Pete and go to the Uhuru House in Oakland and go to the Uhuru House here in St. Louis, you will see that similar theme. And that's the thing we're talking about in reproducing the Uhuru houses. When you walk into one, as we say, touch one, touch all, it's the same with the Uhuru houses itself. You walk into one building and you know you're in liberated territory. And that's the thing I appreciated about the call for reproducing the institutions of the movement.
I can also say that the significance of the African spirit in Aquaba Hall, especially in Oakland. And I have a particular affinity for Aquaba Hall in Oakland because I've renovated on that building 2 times before. So, and let me tell you, I know the insides and outsides of that building. And just by having DC owner task me with doing the motif, the African design, and in the Aquaba Hall, in the main hall, and in the kitchen, and in one of the rooms off the kitchen. And that was a serious job because I had to reproduce the template and draw it out on the wall and paint it, climb scaffolding and ladders and balancing acts with paint and everything. And it got reproduced. And like I said, the branding is important, but it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful statement for the African working class. They know they can come to a place that's professional, that means what it's supposed to do, organize the people, and people have a place where they can feel comfortable, and we want our people to not only be comfortable, but we want our people to know that they have a place that they can depend on to come and organize and do work. So, Uhuru.
How many years has Uhuru Furniture been in Oakland?
Uhuru. Janine, member of the African People's Solidarity Committee. Uhuru, it's an honor to be here. Uhuru Furniture has been there for this coming year will be the 30th anniversary. Uhuru.
What I want to know is how in the heck have you guys been winning all these awards every year, and what role did the staff play in that?
Uhuru.
Uhuru. So Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles has won Best Furniture Store of the East Bay 8 years. Straight. And I mean, that's including IKEA, it's including Berkeley, it's including, it's a huge area. So it's really astounding. And I appreciate Bakri asking what role the staff play, because the staff play a huge role. And I am very proud to represent Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles here with Janine today, representing everybody that's back there at Uhuru Furniture holding it down this weekend. Somebody asked me this weekend, oh, did the store close so you could be here? Like, no, the store does not close. The store is open, and it's being held down by Mark Coy, who has been there over 20 years. Uhuru Mark. Janine has been there almost 20 years. I just want to say this because this is something about the Uhuru movement's legacy in Oakland, California. The movement's legacy is there all the time. You see it. It's underneath the surface everywhere, but it's also there in the comrades and the experience and like the bank, like the party says, the knowledge that are in the comrades that are there doing the work. So Mark, Janine, Gerald Davis is there. He's been there over 10 years. He's one of our truck drivers, and he's also coordinating the business campaign on-site visits with us. Brian Harpster is there right now. And then we have fantastic, and Brian coordinates the donations, getting in all the wonderful donations that Uhuru Furniture gets in. Luis Barrero has been with us over a year. George Relaford is a new person that just joined our team. Kevin O'Farrell is with us, who's an incredible member of our operations staff. Josiah Horn is a new person who's with us just in the last couple months. And Denisha Calderon is our promotions person. And this is how Uhuru Furniture is open right now. And I have to say, and I'm going to be very fast, but I just want to say that, we win because we have fantastic furniture at low prices. That is absolutely true. You walk in, you can get really high quality furniture at low prices. We get new items every day, and we have very low cost delivery. But also, you walk into that store and it's African internationalism, like in reality, like Chairman says, it's the material, it's the practice of African internationalism. People feel that when they walk in. They might not know exactly that that's what it is, but we remember their names. We give them customer service like you can't get anywhere, because that is what, you know, humanity is. And they feel that when they walk into any institution of APDF or the party. And so people choose to shop, donate, volunteer with Uhuru Furniture because of the people, because of the stance, because of who we are and what we stand for as APDF. And they vote for us. So that's why we've won 8 years.
Now I know. I love it when you ask a question, you get a great answer. Maureen, can you tell me about Uhuru Foods and Pies? They've acquired new branding and tagline over the past 5 years, and what led to that rebranding?
Uhuru, Deputy Chair spoke about this a little bit in her presentation. My name is Maureen, and I am also a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and it's an honor to work under Deputy Chair's leadership and work with Bakri Olatunji, Sally Moyenda, Pete Yaroshuk over there, Suchas behind me, and also Kara Locke, and I hope I didn't miss anyone. Kiangozi's been in Uhuru Foods as well. But the rebranding was part of the strategic work of Deputy Chair's office to really take these institutions and then bring them into the fold of African self-determination. And that's what the brand puts out now. So, you know, there's a lot of things in the Bay Area having to do with food, including the fact that there are these, what the chairman was talking about this morning, the food deserts. But right next to that is the same Delmar divide you have here, you have like in the Bay Area where there's foodies, and food becomes a politic in and of itself, but it's a politic of appropriation and of, you know, gluttony, really. And so Uhuru Foods and Pies is clearly known as, it's for self-determination, it's for economic development to the Black community, it's for reparations. And all of our work in the institution from the Solidarity movement is about reparations in the institutions to build Black Star Industries. I don't know if anybody else wanted to answer that.
Well, I want to add too, just the beauty of our pop-up tables around the Bay Area. I mean, people see our table and like, what's this? And they come check it out and they buy pies, and I encourage them to buy more pies. You know, but as, you know, the branding is really reflective of the professionalism that DC owner really wants us to put out there on a daily basis, but also the fact that it's pies with a purpose. You know, it's not just selling somebody a pie, but it's a pie that means reparations. It's a pie that means African community can build the institutions we need to feed, clothe, and house ourselves. So, and that branding really, it goes a long way. It really does, and especially in certain areas that we've been going to for the past few years. So, hey.
Okay, I appreciate that. So, Suchas, can you tell us some of the fairs that you've participated in the work of the Uhuru movement since maybe earlier this year?
My name is Suchas. I was coming around the movement. I did some volunteer work, like in the health fair. We did Martin Luther King thing. I worked at the registration. And I must say it was very good experience, nice experience, inviting people to come in and they learn about all this. And that's how I learned about a lot of everything that's going on in the movement also. And I thought it was very interesting and really awesome that how we can come together and learn about all this also. Okay. So, and I like doing the volunteer work.
Maker Fair and
oh yeah, I did some fairs also, like Vegas Fair. I did the Pride Fair in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. I think I did another one. Art and Soul in Oakland.
Art and Soul in Oakland.
And the market. I also volunteer at the market.
Yeah, so we have quite a bit going on there in Oakland. And I just want to say a little bit about the market that I coordinate on Saturdays. And the market has developed since, I think, summer of last year to fall of last year. We've gotten a van that I think was up there a minute ago. We can get back to that slide. It shows the branding on the van that we have. We have a new van, which is totally different from a big box truck we had with a 400-pound grill we used to load in every week. We have streamlined. We have a new menu. We have a great group of fantastic 15, 16, 17-year-old volunteers who come every week, who are down with the line, know what we're about, and who do some fantastic work. And we are a tradition in the Bay Area at this particular farmers market. We've gotten some spin-offs where people have come to us and want us to do catering at this Ubuntu Theater. We did a catering event where we sold pies at the intermission of this play. We actually use our actual pies as a prop in the play. One of the actors started eating the pie as he was putting out his line and tasted it so good he lost his line. And he told us after the fact we messed him up. So the reality is that says a little something. I'm really self-critical. We couldn't have some of that pie here for the Congress. But it was just great work. And the market has really developed in a great way. And we really want to really deepen it and maybe do a second market and try to win more volunteers and just take the work that we've done and develop it in a better way. And one of the things I know DC wants is us to produce, as she said, all of the policies, procedures, and everything about the market so we can put this thing down anywhere around the country. So, you know. And
you know, we introduced the Africa pie. It's the apple pie that the chairman loves a lot. And Charles, can you just tell us how that Africa design came about?
Hey, my name's Charles. I was just kind of wandering around the kitchen. And I saw them making pies. I don't bake or anything. I was just a little bored. And so I decided to make a silhouette of Africa out of the pie dough. And it worked out. I tried to make a car shell too, that didn't work out. But yeah, that's how that happened.
Uhuru. You know, I was sitting in the meeting the other night, you know, the complex meeting about lighting stage, the various PowerPoints and videos with Director Akile and Program Director Penny and everybody, Secretary General Ghazi, and I thought, Uhuru Foods would be really good in this. I mean, Kara Locke staffs the Maker Faire. That is really, really complex. Can you say how you do that? How many people does it take a day? How many people hours?
Uhuru, my name is Kara Locke, and I'm also a part of the African People's Solidarity Committee. I have the honor of working under the leadership of Deputy Chair Ona and the leadership of Maureen and Bakri and Sayali and everybody in this movement. It's amazing. But yeah, staffing is difficult. And I think at Maker Faire we had probably, when it was all said and done, about 100 people working either in the kitchens, making our jerk sauce, to coming at different times during the day to actually staff the festival itself. And it's long hours, but it's great. And right now, as Bakari was talking about, we have interns at the market. We also have an intern group at the kitchen, and that's kind of our what we're trying to gain is more interns and keep on that road of retaining people and keeping them in the work. So, uhuru.
I just wanted to add quickly to that also, comrades from the movement have come to Oakland for these huge, huge events, and they are enormous, including Secretary General Ghazi Kodzo, who was on one of the stages at the San Francisco Pride this year. President Kalambaye came with a crew from Impedum a few years ago. Comrades from USM came this year, some of whom got off a plane at midnight and were in a booth at 7 a.m. the next day, an hour away, till 7 p.m. that day, and then 7 a.m. again the next day. So it's something that the entire Uhuru movement is involved in really making happen, and it's a powerful institution under Deputy Chair's leadership. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
All right, give it up for the Western region. So next, we want to hear from the Northeast region. Yeah. And we want to introduce Janice Bryant as the moderator for the Northeast region. So the party first went into Philadelphia with the slogan, "Reinforcements are on the way," in response to the bombing of the Move family and the surrounding African community in 1985. The party led Philly out of the counterinsurgency and at the same time built economic institutions to demonstrate what it means to have African self-determination and economic development.
Can you all hear me? No? Okay. So, Allie, how long has UFC been in existence in Philadelphia? How did it get started?
Uhuru. My name's Ali. I'm a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee. And I just want to say what an honor it is to be here with this incredible Office of Deputy Chair under Deputy Chair's leadership today and to work in it. I'm here with Ali Hutley and Janice Bryant and Kota, representing Uhuru Furniture today. Uhuru Furniture, as the chairman says in the political report, was opened 25 years ago next year in Philadelphia, so we're not too far behind Oakland, trying to catch up. Uhuru. And it got started, as in your introduction, the party went to Philadelphia in 1985, 1986, after the Move bombing, and called on APSC to come to Philadelphia to support the party's work, build reparations movement in the white community there. And we went out there and mostly started with Uhuru foods and pies. That's what we used to doing a lot. We did street fairs up in New York and New Jersey, and when we catered big festivals, music festivals in New England, things like that, and pies. But it rains and it's not like it's not, sunny and dry all summer, so we got rained out a lot, lost all our inventory. We decided we had to do something indoors, And so next thing we did was an espresso cart and outfitted a small food cart with an espresso machine. And as the Uhuru movement is always on the forefront of everything, Uhuru Espresso was the first espresso in Philadelphia. Wow. So we paved the way for Starbucks to come in and open 10 million stores. But meanwhile, we parked our little espresso cart outside of the University of Pennsylvania every day, and the snow and the ice, and Sandy remembers, and other people. And, baked our muffins and baked goods in our little Solidarity Center on South Street and brought them up every morning with big things of coffee, and got all the doctors and students at the University Hospital addicted to caffeine. But it was tiny. It was just so tiny. Only 2 people could stand in it. So it was limited. It was like we had to bust out of that, as Deputy Chair says, break out of it. So we opened Uhuru Furniture under the party's leadership in 1994. On a very, very tiny space.
Yes.
Stephanie was talking about 800 square feet, was minuscule, and
Was it 800 whole square feet?
Yep.
I don't think that store was as big as this stage.
No. You remember, right, Janice?
I do remember. I also remember Deputy Chair coming with a sister named Jennifer, and she didn't even get all the way into the door before she looked around and saw all of the couches piled up in the space that we were working in, and she just could not stop laughing. It was really hilarious to her. And we are really taking it seriously. Why are you laughing at our workplace? This is where we work. And but she couldn't stop laughing. So it was really clear after that point that it was time to go. We needed to expand. It was one time there was an earthquake that apparently nobody felt but me. And now I was inside the store, everybody else was outside, and I'm thinking that the heater was about to blow. So there was a loft right above my head where I worked. My desk was about this big, and it was filled with chairs, couches piled 4 and 5 high. And I'm looking at, okay, what's my closest escape route? How can I get out of here? Am I gonna be killed by a falling couch or something? So it was like, yeah, y'all, it's time to go. It's time to go.
Yeah, Janice, one of the things she was talking about, it's on, Uhuru. She was talking about Jennifer. Jennifer is the person who helped us negotiate our lease with the, where we are right now. She's a doctor now. She's got her PhD, and she came down and she volunteered her time. She came and looked at different locations that we were looking at, and she went in just like a lawyer, and she helped us negotiate our lease. So even though she was laughing, because she couldn't believe that we were actually operating in this space and that we were making, resources, but we were. And so then that's how we got to, on Broad Street, our 2-story building with a basement now. He helped make that happen. And 2 bathrooms, right?
So, Allie, what transformation do you see under DC's leadership in the past 5 years?
Which Allie are you asking? Who you asking, Allison or me?
Allie. The accent is different on Ali.
I'm just checking. I'm just checking. I'm just checking.
That's why I go by Allison, so that we can just... Uhuru, well, I know that some of this has been touched on with Oakland, but under Deputy Chair's leadership, the Uhuru Furniture completely transformed. And, because Deputy Chair, for one thing, as you saw from the amazing, powerful presentation that you showed us, Deputy Chair, all the work that's happened under your leadership the past 5 years, just breaks down all the barriers and makes it happen in such a professional way. And so Uhuru Furniture, really went from being a very small but successful fundraiser, led by APSC as reparations for the African Liberation Movement, the party, to being a powerful dual power African internationalist institution of the African working class, by and for the African working class, and it's transformed it. I mean, you walk into Uhuru Furniture, you see the big, huge banners with the mission on it, with all the different mission of APEDF, all the points of what it stands for, the political line. It's a beautiful store, it's professional, like Deputy Chair led us to kind of kicking and streaming. We didn't really want to go, but to the training, because it was like, well, what do they know? But really, we learned so much from those trainings that Deputy Chair took us to, just even going into the other stores that they did the tour. That was one of the most learning experiences, to see how they set it up, merchandising, all the different spin-offs. The Deputy Chair invented the Enzo, the beautiful Enzo, African furnishings at home and abroad, all the accessories, painted furniture, doing the painting, selling paints, the POS system, a professional system of sales, the point of sales system. There's just been huge transformation. And the staff, I mean, you trained us on everything about human resources. We knew nothing about that. It was just sort of a hippie store in a certain way. We just sold a lot of furniture, but then it transformed into a professional African internationalist institution.
So Ali, so where did you relocate and what was the impact in the new community?
For me, the impact was, first I want to give a shout out to my comrade Tiffany for even introducing me to the African People's Socialist Party and APEDF. I used to work in a restaurant, one of her family members, and I was their head cook. And Allie and them was short one weekend of a body for, to do some work. So Tiffany came to me and asked me to come, or could I work that weekend? So, I said, sure, why not? So when I went there, I think Allie was doing the pickups that day. You know what I mean? See, she's amazing. You know, she was doing the pickup. She was the driver, and I went on the truck with her, and and we did a pickup. And I've always been, you know, the type that knew how to, a people's person, I guess you can say. Always been a hustler or whatever. And when we went on the pickup, we did the pickup, we got back to the store. I noticed how the store was, you know, organized. So, you know, the next thing I know, I was on board, you know. They asked me to come to work for them. So then I got to thinking, you know, about family, you know what I mean? Because I was around, you know, as, you know, the chairman say, Black Panther days, the burning of the move, you know, I grew up around all that. So when they asked me to come on board and work in the store, I came there. I could have had a better job, you know. I thought it over, talked it over with my wife. It wasn't about the money, because I could have had a job making more money. I just liked it, the sound. And when I found out what Uhuru mean, that made me feel even better. So I came to work there as a salesperson and an operations team. And, you know, I got familiar with the organization. And the next thing I knew, I became the operations supervisor. Now I'm being transformed into the sales coordinator. So, you know, it's really true about how the indigenous people and the African people can be in charge of our own institutions. I'm a perfect example of that. And it makes me feel good to know that I don't have to answer to no one, that I can make the decisions, I can be the leader, and I have an awesome team. They respect me. They do whatever I tell them. And, you know, I'm enjoying this.
They do
you know
what
I
you
mean?
ask.
I love it. I love it.
Y'all wouldn't believe that he was real nervous about making this presentation. And now he just started out and got up, and now he stood up and got the mic and whatnot.
Question.
Okay.
All right, I'll come back.
We're giving the next
I'll finish
presentation, right, DC?
I'll finish it.
But what about, we were talking about the neighborhood that we moved into, and, you know, just touch on some of the places that are historically African, like UNIA and...
Okay, I remember the Marcus Garvey movement and the UNIA, but I wasn't around or in that area at the time. I was more so in like the West Philly area. So when I came to Uhuru Furnitures in North Philly, the transformation I seen was the Divine Hotel, the Met Theater. To me, those should have been black landmarks. You know what I mean? Because they were buildings that were up in them days. You know, this is where we, you know, as African Americans had to go and enjoy little venues or whatever. But now they're starting to gentrify it. They're getting ready to make the Met a venue like the, I think it's a venue downtown.
Live Nation, it's going to be a concert venue.
Right, you know what I mean?
And just so I could add to that is that what happened was they pushed out, there were a lot of homeless shelters surrounding that venue. It was just a dilapidated building, but this company, Domus, they renovated the Divine Lorraine Hotel, and then they started on the Met. So what happened was all of those homeless shelters shut down. They didn't displace the people. I mean, they displaced the people, but they didn't place them anywhere. So now they're on the street. And, you know, it's just incredible what they're calling progress. Like, progress for who? So, anyway.
Yeah, and anyway, just a little bit right quick to elaborate more on that. So, again, the transformation I seen by Uhuru Furniture coming to that area and that part of town is we did let the community know that they have a store now, a furniture store with, again, to agree with Oakland, with reasonable prices, you know, and we have a beautiful staff as far as greeting them, you know, like, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing how, you know, we can come into a community and they come in and, you know, you greet them with a smile, you know, and, you know, we get into a conversation, we tell them about the organization, and then, you know, they respond with, oh, I didn't know that. Sure, I'll sign up, you know what I mean? Or, yeah, you know, I'll be back, or I'll pass the word. And that's a beautiful thing to hear, to know that the work that we're doing is really starting to pay off, and I'm glad to be a part of that. Uhuru.
Uhuru. So this question is directed at one of our newest members of the team in the store, Kota. I just love her so much. She's just so unapologetically who she is and such a revolutionary. How did the promotional materials and strategy change to adapt in the new community?
So UFC developed a politicized seasonal calendar and also our sales events. So one of our annual events is like MLK Volunteer Day, where we have a lot of volunteers come to do door hanging to promote the furniture store in various neighborhoods in Philadelphia. And we also have sales events like celebrating African mothers, saluting African fathers, celebrating Marcus Garvey's birthday, Malcolm X's birthday, African Liberation Day, African Martyrs Day, things like that. And we've also expanded our social media presence. So we've gone onto Instagram and built a pretty big following. We are at over 2,500 followers on Instagram at the moment. And we keep getting new followers every day. People tagging the furniture store, saying that they just got a piece of furniture, and promoting that they got it for really affordable prices, good quality furniture, things like that. We've also expanded to post our items on Let Go, which is another app, in addition to OfferUp, to sort of like expand our reach. And we've continued to do promotion in Center City and other North American communities, but we've also expanded our poster routes into African communities in West Philadelphia and North Philadelphia. And we've also started translating our promotional materials into Spanish to tap into the Spanish-speaking indigenous communities. There's a lot of Puerto Rican and Mexican folks in Philly, so we're going to start doing outreach at various Independence Day festivals and things like that.
Awesome. So Allison, over the last period, as part of the strategy to build hubs, UFC has hosted a lot of events. Can you name some of these events and talk about them?
What was the last part of your question?
Can you name some of the events and talk about them?
Oh, okay, yes. It's also been, the expansion of Uhuru Furniture to a two-story building, like Deputy Chair said, has allowed us to do big events in the building itself, which has been very significant because, for example, the chairman led the Black is Back Coalition conferences 2 years in a row at Uhuru Furniture, and as Charles Barron said, that made you and many other people be able to see the party institutions. We had a fantastic event last year, the picture over there of the chairman. It was called An Evening with Amalia Shatella, brainchild of Deputy Chair Ona, and it was powerful because a lot of people, it was right after the book fair, Uhuru Book Fair, and so many people, it's a huge base of support for the chairman and for the party in Philadelphia. And it allowed people a way to come out and really hear more from the chairman, broke it down for people about the politics and also his own experiences, which was really moving. We've had the reparations tour for the Black Power Blueprint, had a successful event there. We do the Martin Luther King Day events there every January with Deputy Chair coming and speaking. T'Challa came and spoke, gave a powerful presentation this past January. We do a lot of different events there, as well as meetings.
So this is to everyone at UFC. How has the N2U program impacted the store's ability to promote? Let's talk about Joe, because before the N2U program, there was Joe Franchi. Allie?
Joe Frenchy. I can call Joe my right hand. He's a volunteer. I can call him my right hand. He's like a volunteer, but he's been in the movement of the Solidarity movement under the leadership of ODC Ona for about 20 years, I think. Ali, about 20 years, and he's one of our volunteers that gets out and put all the door hanging and advertisement out. And he's been a big part of this operation as far as in the Uhuru movement and in the furniture store. And what was the question again?
Never mind.
I got off track. What was
it was about how has the N2U program impacted the store's ability to.
You want to do it?
Yeah, the volunteer work.
Good. Well, I'm going to answer that one. I just wanted to let y'all know about our volunteer guy, Joe Frenchie. He's a real go-getter, and we really appreciate him. He's not here, but he'll be here tomorrow.
Just briefly on the NTU program, the deputy chair initiated. It's a powerful program, volunteer program. One of the most important things about it is it has a beautiful video. If people haven't seen it, you should look at it, because it shows the whole movement, the breadth of the movement. It's a short video, but we show it to everybody when they come for orientations. And it blows people's mind, because they come in the door thinking this is a furniture store, and they want to volunteer at it, and they see the entire African Revolution, everything the party is doing, all the different organizations, Africa, Bahamas, everywhere. And they're just like, wow, I want to be here. So it really moves people politically. And we're able to have big groups. I mean, on Spruce Street, we would literally have our orientations out on the sidewalk because there was no place. Now we can have, huge groups come in. We just had 20 or so students from Temple University, University of Pennsylvania last week. And I know we do the same in Oakland, obviously, but it's a really important program that Deputy Chair has initiated.
Thank you. So, Tiffany, the Northeast Hub also includes the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace that we hold in Clark Park for the past 13 years. It's now a very popular established community event in Philly. Can you talk about that?
Uhuru. Yes.
Come forward. Let's see you.
Yeah, I can't see you back there.
I don't want to put my back in anybody's face.
There you go.
And folks know I don't like to be put in the center of anything. I'm the kind of leader that likes to lead from behind or whatever. So the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace, then Uhuru Flea Market, was developed in 2006. It was initiated by the Solidarity Movement as a fundraiser to support the Solidarity Center that was at 38th and Lancaster in West Philadelphia. It was a really small market in the beginning. It started off with like 10 vendors. And in the past 13 years that it's grown, we now have on a monthly basis between April through October, 80 to 120 vendors. And that just really shows just the progress and the significance of not just it being a marketplace, but it being liberated territory for our people. It's a marketplace unlike any other. And, people are really drawn to it. It really forwards self-determination, through our volunteers, through our staff, and even through our vendors. Everyone just has this deep sense of pride when they step into Clark Park every single month. So, Uhuru.
Well, that's our time, everyone. Thank you for your attention.
So now we move to the Southeast region, and we want to introduce the moderator, Detachment Lungasani. All right.
Good evening. My name is Detachment Lungasani, and welcome back to Inside the ODC. Were you getting ready to say something, comrade?
Yeah, we want to give a brief overview. The Uhuru House is known as the embassy to the African world, and it serves as, in the Southeast region, as the national headquarters of the African People's Socialist Party. And it houses the Burning Spear Media and Uhuru Design Studios.
Uhuru. So I don't know about all these other moderators, but we about to get into the real behind-the-scenes shade, dirt, and scandals, okay? Y'all ready? All right. All righty, so Southeast region. Can you speak to us about the overall mission of the African People's Education and Defense Fund and how it got the name the baddest nonprofit on the planet? Janice, Tommy, any?
Uhuru. Is it on? Okay. Uhuru. Well, The African People's Education Defense Fund was formed in 1994 by the party to standardize and to be an umbrella for a lot of the institutions of the movement. I came to St. Petersburg in 1998, about 20 years ago, to help be the administrator, to pull a lot of it's a 501c3, there's a lot of specific things that had to be for administratively, legally. And when Deputy Chair came on board is when it became the baddest nonprofit on the planet because it represents the African working class in a really different way. There's such all the other 501c3s, and whenever we go to any other type of events with, volunteer fairs, and there's all these other nonprofits, and there's such charity. And as a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, it's really nauseating, to know that this is what, is encouraged, and how white people, think that they're should be, because they're all, as the chairman says, poverty pimps. They're making their money and they're living off of the poverty and the oppression of African people. And so the African People's Education Defense Fund is about power, and the African working class assuming the power to govern.
So we basically heard about Aquaba Halls in Oakland and in Philly. So can you speak to us about, why was Aquaba Hall created?
For parties and get-togethers and like Halloween. My name is Tommy Washington. And it's like banners. We promote the building for people that want to come in and have a good time. Like with haunted houses, for me to come in and scare people. And like that, to set up everything and show people that we know we can have a good time any way we want to, and come to the Uhuru House and really have a really real good time.
Can I just say, Uhuru?
Yeah.
I think when Deputy Chair came on board, it really opened up the Uhuru House. She really called for promotions, and not just for the self-reliance, but also for the community. And so we get people who come through the Aquaba Hall all the time. They'll come to rent, say, oh, my friend told me to come rent, and they've never been to the Uhuru House before. So then they get the tour. Dia Kiesi shows them Black Power 96. We show them the Uhuru Community Commercial Kitchen, and they're like, wow, I didn't know this was here. I've never been here. And they're really understanding of what it means for the African community to have those resources, and people really appreciate it. And they always, I think people always know that what the Uhuru movement represents in terms of representing African working class people and the interests of the African working class, but when they see the different economic institutions and the Black Power 96 radio, they understand it in a deeper way of what it can mean for people having that power.
By the way, the first haunted house was our deputy chair. Okay, she created everything, and I helped her create everything inside. She sat outside handing candy to the kids. The kids didn't want to come in, but she said, "Go on in there, go on in there."
Because you were so scary. They didn't want to come in because Tommy was scaring the hell out of everyone. The kids were screaming. But we just missed the renovations. I don't know if you wanted to go back to the picture before, but this was the renovation of that, and that might have been a health fair. This was the Uhuru House renovation in what was that? What year was that? 2006, I believe, which was really transforming the original plan was actually to have an even larger auditorium, but we couldn't get the parking that was necessary to have that capacity. It was really a problem. But it transformed the Uhuru House. There was central heat and air finally, offices upstairs. This is when Deputy Chair came in and instituted the office hours after that and really made it an open space. But this was about the second time. I think the first time was when Gaida Cambone led the renovations in the 1990s, 95, that Pete and other people participated in. I don't know, I forget what I was going to say.
All righty. So, most people don't know that Aquaba Hall wasn't originally named that. So can we speak about, how that name came into being and what that process, looked like?
That became to a contest. So deputy owner, CK made a contest out of it. So everybody had to make a drawing to figure out what name was going to be. So the winner became Mr. Mali came the winner for the winner of Aquaba Hall. That's how it became Aquaba Hall.
All right.
Aquaba means welcome.
Yes, and Aquaba does mean welcome.
Welcome in Swahili.
Tweet.
In Swahili. Aquaba Hall means Swahili.
Tweet. All right. So can you tell us about how Aquaba Hall was transformed once the DC owner was able to get a hold of it?
The painting, the mask, the flag in the Aquaba Hall, the green and the white and red, yeah, and the drawings and everything, yeah.
So initially, DC owner, the goals for the institutions was to be self-reliant. So can you all speak to why was it so important for Aquaba Hall to be self-reliant, and what does that process look like?
The Aquaba Hall supports all the national office of the African People's Socialist Party and the National Office of African People's Education Defense Fund and all the offices of the movement. So it's really important for resources to come in through the Aquaba Hall and through Hujiko Community Commercial Kitchen that is rented to the community, so that all the movement work can happen and be. It's made a huge difference in terms of being able to get a lot of different programs going as well. There have been programs outside, like that was a Black Sunday Health Festival. There's the Halloween Haunted House, which is an exercise for candy, and other programs. There have been boot camps from the gym. There's just been a lot of programs that are available for the community. The Black Power 96 radio station has also held events, and that's what's able to happen because of the rentals.
And Charles, this was around the time you started volunteering, so how can you speak to us about what that was like, first starting to volunteer with the movement?
Well, it was kind of like a blank slate to me, because I like making branding businesses. And so when I had an opportunity to come in and start creating all of these brochures and flyers to promote Aquaba Hall, and had a chance to kind of make that into something tangible, because, DC was telling me about it and I'd seen it. And it's funny because I initially said, just make a wish list of all of the things that you want to make, and I'm just going to make them, And that's kind of how it all happened. And so Aquaba Hall specifically was one of the first opportunities that I had to kind of start with that and just kind of brand that into the thing that she wanted it to be. Mm-hmm.
Uhuru. So can you all speak about the events that happen in Aquaba Hall, both inside the hall and also outside in the lot that's adjoining the Uhuru House? Well, yes, I can. There's, numerous events that happen inside the Aquaba Hall: baby showers, receptions, graduation parties, and things of that nature. And in this picture, I believe this is the One Africa, One Nation marketplace that we had at the Uhuru House, and I believe that was in May of last year. And yeah, so those are some of the events, and that's me right there on the stage, yeah. You had hair. Oh yeah, we, DC owner did have an outside stage built, and Black Power 96, we were able to have different concerts outside. We had a concert for the election campaigns of Director Keeley and Comrade Jesse Neville, when Director ran for city council and Jesse was running for mayor. We were able to put on a benefit concert for the 3 Drowned Black Black Girls Campaign, just inviting local artists within St. Petersburg to come into, come and perform at the Uhuru House. So, yeah.
The July 4th African.
The July 4th African Nation Family Reunion Block Party. Yeah.
There's the stage being built, and the Black Love Comedy, the kids, St. Pete Kids Got Talent. There have been many programs.
So I just got word. Here comes the scandal. St. Louis is trying to steal Tommy from St. Pete. And I don't think we can have
want him
that.
and DC.
Tommy is the only person that I've met that can outdance me. So y'all can't have Tommy. But Tommy, you do play a big part in the Uhuru Haunted Halloween Night. So can you tell us about, that event that we put on for the community?
That event is every Halloween, and I help set it up and scare the kids. I remember one time Detachment came through, and the little boy was walking through with his mom. So I came out of nowhere. Detachment looked, the little boy zoomed past him, past his mama, past everybody, and kept going. So yeah, me help set the Halloween party up. Then the contests we have for the kids with candies, prizes, and all that, donated by other people. Our previous leader by the Haunted House.
I just want to say that Tommy has a little bit too much fun scaring these kids at Halloween. And I tell them all the time, karma's something to contend with, buddy, because those kids are going to grow up one day and get you back.
Uhuru, I just wanted to say that we initially started the Haunted House inside of Aquaba Hall, and the last 4 years, we decided to build a haunted house, and we got all the materials donated from Home Depot, Lowe's, and local lumber companies in St. Petersburg. So, and Cedric, that also built the outside stage, he just came and built the haunted house for us for free. We take it down every year, we put it up, and Tommy is very modest. He's the designer. He goes in and he creates all these different rooms for the kids to be scared in. So it's a real production. It's a real production. We have exercise for candy. We have musical chairs. We have the contest for the best Halloween first, second, and third prizes, where they win TVs, bicycles. We get everything donated from, the local stores like Toys R Us and different other merchants in the community. So the Halloween thing is really a free thing for the whole family. The whole family comes out and then really enjoys it. So it's a big deal for us at APDF.
Uhuru. So next we wanted to ask you guys about the Uhuru Jiko Community Commercial Kitchen, that we have housed in the Uhuru House in St. Pete, and just the significance of the kitchen, and what that has meant for the community. And Janice, if you could speak to who also uses the kitchen as well.
Uhuru. The kitchen has a 6-burner range. Right now we have 2 double-stack convection ovens, a dish sanitizer, 3-compartment sink. It's got a lot of resources. That means we have food trucks, people who operate food trucks who come there. We have caterers. We even had a organic dog treats place that baked cookies that smelled like cookies. Everybody wanted to come in. It also means that Uhuru Foods and Pies has a base of operations, and this is really significant, especially when people come to the Uhuru House to pick up their pies, and they can see the kitchen, they can see what it means, the resource it is for the community. They can smell pies baking while they're coming in. It's a really important resource, and it gives the vision of the food production and distribution in the hands of the African community. That's what people see, what it means, for our future. And the,
Uhuru, can you speak about how the kitchen has advanced the vision of Uhuru Foods and Pies? Because we know that Uhuru Foods and Pies and the Uhuru Jiko Kitchen have some shared goals. So can you talk about that?
Well, I think that is the production, food production distribution, the vision of having that is what, you know, I see, and that these are some of the people who work in the kitchen, and that was some of the caterers, and also our Uhuru Foods and Pies team. That was Al Dogan, who is the food prep coordinator, who was coordinating the Saturday morning market this weekend, which was the opening season, and we've been there for 16 years. So the Uhuru movement has a deep reputation in the community for economic development. People see, I mean, that the Uhuru movement is about the economic as well as the just selling the food, and it's excellent quality food. We've been at the Saturday morning market for, I think this is our 16th season, and people know the quality, and people are starting also, some of the people that haven't been to the Saturday morning market from the African community also get a chance to sample it. When we've had our Freedom Fridays, there's the opportunity for all of our departments and organizations to use the kitchen, have fundraisers. We've had Freedom Fridays, that was a fundraiser for the Congress, and people were able to, we did that outside actually, we set up a booth outside, and people were able to see that and get information and be part of volunteering. People, you know, wanted to come in and volunteer as well.
Uhuru, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Uhuru, dear. Well, I just wanted to say that in 1981, when I lived in Eugene, Oregon, and joined the African People's Solidarity Committee, I worked in the alternative food system called Starflower. And really at the same time, Redbeard, David Reardon, worked in the food system, the alternative food system in San Francisco, and Maureen Wagner worked in it in Arizona, you know? So anyway, you know, I brought the chairman, when it came down for an event, I brought him to Starflower. So it's natural foods distribution. And, you know, the chairman looked, it was on the mezzanine, and just looking down at this huge warehouse where, you know, I mean, it was just two white kids in their 20s, a brother and a sister, got startup money. They were only selling cheese and herbs out of their garage. They get startup money and they end up starting this whole natural foods distribution thing. And they have semi-trucks and bobtail trucks in a huge warehouse. So the chairman's just looking down at it, and he just said, someday we're gonna have this for the African working class. And that was 1981. And Uhuru, the party's vision with Black Star Industries and Uhuru Foods and Pies has always been about Africans controlling the means of producing food, you know, distributing food, you know, having the ability of the African community to have control of the food. And this is really still the vision. And we saw a little of this with Kit Condell, because he was a volunteer with the Uhuru Foods in Oakland, and his father was ill, and he had to go home to their farm, and they actually grew pumpkins. So he gets his father to donate the pumpkins. Redbeard who was in trucking, gets a long-haul truck driver to truck the pumpkins to San Francisco. He reloads them onto the variable vegetables truck, brings them over to Oakland, and they were the pumpkins for, you know, the pie campaign in November. And that's really how it's going to be, you know. I don't know. It's awesome.
Uhuru. So the next question I have is, how has it been to have Black Power 96 in the Uhuru House? And I am the station manager for Black Power 96.3 FM. And I just want to say that oh, were you getting ready to say something? Okay. I moved to St. Petersburg in the first of 2017, and when I first got there, the process with Black Power 96.3 FM had already begun, and I moved there to be the administrative assistant for Timba Shabanda. Triggered. But yeah, so I moved there to be his administrative assistant, and then I eventually, was granted the honor to become the station manager for Black Pride 96.3 FM, and being a member of the African People's Socialist Party, it has really had a tremendous impact on my development as a member of the party. And just being able to, work under the leadership of Director Akile Anayi for the Department of Agitation and Propaganda, and what Black Pride 96, yes. What Black Pride 96.3 FM, represents not only for the Africans of St. Petersburg, but what it means for the entire liberation struggle for African people. And the response that we've seen in St. Petersburg, Florida, and even from Africans all around the world who call in, who message us on Facebook to, just congratulate us about Black Pride 96, comment on our programming. The music that we play has just been astronomical. And I won't get into some of the recent developments now. I want to save that later on for my report. But I have numerous messages saved on our voicemail about, from anonymous Africans just calling in saying how much they love the station. Asking us where we can purchase the speeches that we play from chairman, on the station. And having the station in the Uhuru House in St. Petersburg has just brought us, Africans, from the community coming in to volunteer, to become interns at the station, and the response has just been, it's just been great. And the next question is, did DC decorate the studio? And I can say yes, she has, because every couch, every stool, every chair I put together that she purchased and brought into the studio, and the decor is just, it's wonderful, it's magnificent. Yeah, well, when she redid it, but yeah.
Red, black, green?
Yeah, the studio was first red, black, and green, but then she changed it, and we have, Africas all around the walls, and, just different propaganda posted up in the studio, and it's beautiful. Yeah, literally days before, I was in St. Petersburg, and one day we were in there, we were sweeping, putting together the furniture and everything like that, and the next day the studio was open, and it was magnificent. It was a wonderful process. So, Uhuru. Next, so Tommy again as head of maintenance for the institutions in St. Petersburg. We work at the Uhuru House, but the Uhuru House belongs to Tommy, just to let y'all know. So can you tell us, if you walked outside of Aquaba Hall and turned left, what other institutions would you get to or would you see when coming out of Aquaba Hall?
I would see the stage, and if I walk further down to 9th Street and turn left, I would come into the Tyrone Lewis Gym.
Uhuru.
In the vacant and the land that we have, that we renovated. We're trying to renovate. We do have, the last time we had was the health fair.
Uhuru. So can you, Alrighty, so can you speak to how in the past 5 years has the gym been able to serve the community of St. Petersburg?
The contest of the weightlifting, the smoothie bar, the people coming in and out, working out at nighttime, in the daytime, in the morning time, the fitness, the aerobics that we got going on, where we finna get started up. And that's about it.
Uhuru. So we did hear a little bit about Uhuru Design Studios earlier from DC owner. So Charles, we wanted you to talk about the vision of Uhuru Design Studios.
Well, when I visualize it, I think of, people that want to learn how to, express their creativity in all types of different mediums can come there, similar to the radio station. You can come to the radio station and learn how to do anything. And I always say, as a part of the Uhuru Design Studio tagline, you know, you're only limited by your imagination. And so I visualize people from the community, actually from all over the world, coming and learning how to do some of the stuff that I've had the privilege to learn how to do in my short time on this planet, and sharing that with everyone else so they can start doing their own thing.
Uhuru. Comrade T'Challa.
Right, so that wraps up the Southeast region. And I can stay here. So lastly, we want to introduce the Midwest region. The work of the party over the past year in St. Louis marks a qualitative leap. St. Louis wasn't even on the radar of the party 5 years ago at the 6th Congress. It represents a significant struggle for liberated territory in the African working class for dual and contending power. It has been referred to and is known as the Black Power Blueprint. And my name is T'Challa Masimba. I will be your moderator today. So to start off, I just want to ask, what was the event that focused the party's attention on St. Louis? And I want to ask Zion Farmer, I think the youngest comrade in the movement, or one of them.
Because 18-year-old Mike Brown got killed by the police, and he was left in the sun for 4.5 hours, and the resistance of the African working class.
That's right. Yeah. And so following this event, this murder of Mike Brown, the party then came to St. Louis. Can someone tell us the organization the party built here in St. Louis that made it possible to build an Uhuru House?
Uhuru. Yes, I can. You want me to answer?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, so we built the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. That gave us the opportunity to come here on the ground after the murder of Mike Brown. So that the NPDOM is led by President Columbaye Antoinette, who has a crew of forces here that has established NPDOM as the force on the ground for self-determination for our people.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Yeah, we really want to recognize President Columbaye Antoinette. She really laid the basis for the party to really bring organization here on the ground, and the forces that she organized in the process. And we heard, you know, all of the calls by the Office of the Deputy Chair as a mandate of the political report to reproduce all of the institutions, but you know, the chairman has made it clear that in order for that to happen, you have to have the forces on the ground to make it happen. And she was a significant part of that.
Yes.
And so, that, you know, that was what, I just want to add that to it as well. How did the neighbors, so, you know, we built this Uhuru House, so we're in the process of renovating the Uhuru House. How did the neighbors react to this project of renovating this building that was vacant for 18 years? And anyone can answer.
Uhuru, sure. Well, I think that, all right, the first meeting that I went to was an NPDA meeting, and Deputy Chair brought myself and Maureen. We had just arrived from California the night before. And Maureen for, you know, a brief stay, and myself, I believed, a little brief, maybe a little briefer. And the neighbors, I think, were, you know, leery because nobody had ever really done anything and developed anything, and there's no economy in the area. There is really the capitalist exploitation of the African community, maybe through prostitution, in the area. There's a gas station that's hostile to the community, overpriced garbage food, and a little corner store that's not owned by the community either. But once they saw, everything that was happening, and Mr. Gary Brooks, as was pointed out last night in Black Power Banquet, he was incredibly helpful. And Deputy Chair started identifying people, and she started right away taking down plaster walls where that brick is, the beautiful brick wall. That was like plaster. I mean, it's tearing down. There was several cleanouts. There were about 3 major cleanouts just to get everything out of the building, to begin having a vision of what it was like. So she was identifying people, and people were coming by, wanting to know what's happening, but she was challenged. As the chairman sums up, and Deputy Chair, African women's leadership was really challenged by the petty bourgeoisie and neocolonialists and corrupt politicians that had never done anything before. And Deputy Chair was absolutely a champion. To me, she was absolutely a champion. Nobody was going to get away with attacking the class or African women, African working class women. And she set the bar. And then the incredible volunteers from MPDM were so involved in it all the time, every week in the meetings. That people came from the community signing up on the NTU days. I mean, there was a day when we were covering with the thick plastic, all the blown out windows, non-existent windows, broken glass, with that, stapling the big thick plastic. And you had Tiffany Murphy and President Kalambaye on these high ladders. I was afraid they were going to pitch through and go right out the second floor. I'm hanging on to their ankles. You know what I mean? I don't know. It was just incredibly embraced by the movement and by the community.
Tiffany said she didn't know she was here. Did you right, Tiffany?
No,
you said Tiffany Murphy.
Oh, I did. I said, I'm sorry, Tiffany Cherry.
Tiffany Cherry.
Tiffany Cherry.
Yes, yes.
Char, can I add to that? Because when, okay. Hey, I'm standing up now. All right, so I just want to say that, so when DC came, it just was just the warmth. And I remember telling Tachar, like, she's been here 2 weeks and she know, like, the whole neighborhood. she would get out her car, everybody would be like, hey, like waving. Or she'll be like, yeah, you know what, we got the balloon man down the street, his name is such and such. Like, she just knew everybody and everybody knew her. And so it just was really encouraging. And like Kitty said, yeah, the community was leery. I mean, we always get promises. We always see people come and go. I mean, that's nothing new to us. So to see, just how friendly and warm, and then how she, her and the chairman, they got a house on Redbud, right on the north side, that was another, thing that showed the community like, yeah, they for real. So I just wanted to add that she was just very, very neighborly and welcoming.
Uhuru.
And Kitty Riley, can you tell us how it is that the African People's Solidarity Committee became part of this project, the Black Power Blueprint?
Uhuru. Well, the party called on APSC to come to St. Louis, myself from the office of the deputy chair, to come into St. Louis and be able to work on the project. It was undefined. It was very much something that just kept growing and developing. But at the time, MPDM, all the MPDM members, not only was everybody at regular jobs, all the time. MPDM was preparing for their annual convention. I know Chichar yourself was on a full-time job. So she really, was at it, morning, noon, and night. And so, of course, I came. That's my job, too. But of course I came, and was an honor to come. And I must say, it was something that just kept growing and developing, because Deputy Chair seized the moment and the opening that was there. Yes, the chairman did want to have an Uhuru House. Yes, Deputy Chair was asked to identify a Uhuru House, but she then started grappling with the Land Reutilization Agency, the bank of housing boarded up and vacant that the city controls, and how to navigate that in those applications. How do we find a building for MPDM? How do we find building for housing? How do we get, other centers? How do we get a big banquet hall so we don't have to rent? So it kept evolving every single day. How do we get the architectural plans? I mean, we actually had the meeting, do you remember this, Deputy Chair, with the architect outside on a card table? There was no electricity in the building. It was boiling hot. We were out there in the card table having this meeting, and, how do we find, the right contractors? Who does the party want to work with? And I will say that what I witnessed is the deputy chair and the chairman always bring the best of the class. I mean, the best people come into the party and the movement, and it was, a real process, a really profound process. And then her solidarity movement. The APSC was asked to bring an organizer in the solidarity movement because there were all these, really corrupt white left organizations and, different liberals and different people looking for some answers and solutions after witnessing the resistance after the Mike Brown killing. And so, APSC sent Casey Mackey as a USM organizer, and she got out there organizing, and, we got a brand.
All right, Uhuru. So, even though we had largely impeding forces on the ground initially, we had to find new people. We had to bring additional people into the work. Isoke, Brandy, Zanlile, can you tell us what it is that made you want to become part of this project?
Absolutely. It definitely was the Mike Brown incident. We live right in Ferguson, my husband and I, and when Mike Brown was killed, I think it was the same weekend he was killed, we were coming back from our honeymoon, close to it, and his aunt called us, and she lives on the same street, and she said, there's been a murder of a young man. I want you all to go by there. And we went by there, I think it was the same day. Anyway, long story short, they started protesting. My husband, us just being married, was like, I don't want you going out there. It's too dangerous. I just got you. My wife, they shooting. I don't want you out there. I was like, well, I got to do something. And I said, well, I'm going to join the NAACP. He said no. And so, so I guess fast forward a couple of years later, I've still never stopped looking for something. Marching and protesting was fine, but I just knew that at this point in our history, in our people's history, it just wasn't enough. It needed to be something else. And so when, I think it was Casey, we saw Casey somewhere at Fred Hampton viewing, and you came and spoke to Chara, and you said, that's it, yeah, that was it. And you came, that was in February, and you came and spoke, and you said, well, we need somebody to come and help us to build this building, to renovate this building, which was at the time the Hoover House. And I went in there, and it was, you could see through the floors. It was just like, ooh. But fast forward a couple of months or whatever later, we went, it was just like, it was so beautiful. And I said, okay, this is what I need to be a part of. If they organizing like this, if they moving like this, then this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And my husband was gracious enough to be a part of it.
Okay. Uhuru, real quick, I know we tired, but I'm Zanlile in Pico, and I remember them talking about it on DC and all of the party. It was hot outside. I think we were having the African market, and I turned around and someone was like, go down and see the new Uhuru House, and I went down. It wasn't a floor to step on. It was a big hole. But a few months later, we were getting people together to do volunteer work, and it was amazing because people were literally walking. While I was painting, we had all these different projects going on, and while I was there this particular day, there were several people literally walking in off the street, stop and do some work, an hour or two, and go and just burn out. And they would come in and they would say, well, thank you for this opportunity. People wanted to get involved, and it was people from our neighborhood. And I know that it was just my drive. These people not even associated with this organization. And I need to be there. I need to be part of it. So.
Uhuru, well, for me, I really love organization. And just under the leadership of DC and seeing how, there is a plan and action items. We are accountable for action items. It's not like, okay, you go to a meeting and then, there's no follow-up. Like, If a meeting is on Wednesday, you better believe, no, on Thursday, you better believe I'm talking to DC on Monday. And she's saying, make sure everybody got, she's just really organized and really, she can see the end goal. And she pushes us to that goal, and we stay on, there's tasks and timelines and things like that, and I just love that. And Black Power Blueprint answers that question about economics, and how we plan to govern ourselves and take care of ourselves, and that's very important to me too. Uhuru.
All right, Uhuru. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about the funding campaign for the Black Power Blueprint, but webinars were a part of that. And one of the webinars was around the history of St. Louis. Isoke and Brandy, both of you participated in this webinar, and both of you had sons who participated in it. What were their presentations about, and how did it impact them in the presentation?
I'll start. My webinar was about...
Okay, let's hold real quick. Okay. So we want to acknowledge the fact that Comrade Charles Barron is leaving. And what is your... Oh, wow. So he's going to match $1,200, a pledge contribution.
I just want to let everybody know I didn't pledge yesterday because I act bad in front of y'all, but my wife's home. She's in charge of everything. So I called her and said if it's all right. And so now that I got permission, now I can say I'm going to match the chairman's contribution, $1,200.
Yeah. Yeah, we have, as an organization, as a party, I know we have so much respect for the Barons.
Yes, we do.
As a model of bringing revolutionary politics into the electoral arena. All right. So, did you have something? Okay. Yeah, so we were picking up on the question of the webinars, particularly the one around the history of St. Louis, and asking Isoke and Brandy, who participated in those webinars and who both had sons who participated in them, to speak a little bit about that.
For me, I was very elated to have my son participate in it. He's away at school now, and he comes home in the summertime, and he came home this past summer. He's like, Mama, what you got up, what you doing? And I'm like, well, I've joined a new organization. And he was like, okay, well, I want to go to a meeting with you to see, what it is. And when he came back from the meeting that we had, he was so impressed with, like you said, Brandy, how organized the Black Power Blueprint was. And Kitty asked us to do a presentation. My son had to do one on a man named Moses Dixon, and I did one on the East St. Louis riot, which was really a massacre because I'm from East St. Louis. And I also did one on, I think the courthouse, the old courthouse. And just to make a long story short, when my son researched Moses Dixon, his mind was blown away about this man that we had never heard of, who helped to found Lincoln University, which is an HBCU, one of the only 2 HBCUs in St. Louis. He also organized a 42,000 membership of men who were going to, revolt, but because of the Civil War, they decided not to. And I spoke on my grandmother's experience and how she experienced the East St. Louis massacre. You all know it as the East St. Louis race riots. I spoke to how it affected her and how it kind of traumatized her. And I also spoke about the old courthouse and how Africans were basically sold as slaves from the very steps of the old courthouse. So it was a very enlightening experience for both of us, but it really was a chance for my son to really see that his mother is really doing something about this. She's not just marching, that his mother is really trying to be a part of something that's going to move our people forward. And so it laid the seed for him at his young age, just like it is for Zion. So just from that experience, he will continue, even when he's at school, as he's at Tennessee State now, he will continue to move forward and push forward for the freedom of our people.
So I am the proud mother of Zion, who I tell all the time that we are just unwrapping his genius every day. We homeschool, and we talked about Dred Scott before. We talked, it's called our history. So we don't, sometimes, even if you try to slide in some American history, Zion to be like, see, because what really happened was, so even sometimes Zion will come up with all type of conspiracy theories and everything, but he wants any type of history that's American history, he wants to look into it more. We do our history, and one of the topics was Dred Scott. So we learned about that, and Zion was able to talk about that with me during the webinar. And I unite with what Isoke said about, him being able to be involved and him seeing me do it as well. I really appreciate just this organization in general. It's been nothing but welcoming to me and Zion. From the beginning, he's always included. Zion and Aaliyah, when she run in, walk in, everybody's like, hey, they really like Aaliyah loves childcare, So we just really appreciate that, and that webinar was a great opportunity for him to showcase what he knows. Uhuru.
I know, Deputy Chair, there was a real struggle to acquire some of the properties, and in general, it's a struggle for the vast majority of Africans to acquire properties through this entity owned by the city of St. Louis, referred to as the Land Reutilization Authority, or the LRA. Most Africans are not able to get these properties through this LRA, which is a land bank. Can you speak about what it took for us to acquire property through the LRA?
Uhuru, yes. Well, like Chachara was saying, it's very difficult for the average African to maneuver through this process. But because we've been around since, the 80s, building institutions, we had all the elements that was required for us to be able to complete the application. As far as, you had to have your tax returns, you had to have a bank account, you had to have resources in the bank account, you had to have good credit, you had to be able to say what the project was going to look like. You had to draw, do an architectural plan of what the project was going to look like after you renovated the property. So we had all the elements in place to facilitate us to make it happen. But for the average organization or the average African who wants to purchase LRA property, it's going to be very difficult because most Africans don't have, those means. They don't have good credit, they're trying to rebuild their credit, don't maybe have a bank account, or the things that they require that they put in place so Africans won't be able to get these properties. But as an organization, we were able to overcome that because we have built the capacity, for self-reliance and self-determination through our organization. So we were able to maneuver. But I want to say that myself and Kitty, we probably went through about 50 LRA properties, searching, for the Hura House, searching for the GECO kitchen, searching for the African Independence Workforce Program, just trying to get the best of the best, for the party. But it's a hard process. But one of the things that I really wanted to do is, start a way for Africans, make a way for Africans to be able to get those properties, go through the process, sit down with people, show them how to do that, because I think that's very important, because right now gentrification is very, very high right now, because they're getting ready to build this $1 billion spy agency, like, I don't know, 2 minutes from the Uhuru House. So we really want to teach Africans and how to get these properties before the gentrifiers and the capitalist people come in and start getting them.
Yeah, Uhuru.
Uhuru, Uhuru.
And lastly, we want to fast forward and talk about the significance of the raising of the red, black, and green flag in St. Louis. So can someone speak to, what that ceremony looked like and
It looked
what
powerful.
was so significant about it?
It looked powerful, very strong, very well put together, very unexpected for a community who has never seen anything like that ever. And I had to say that, because just being there, you have had to, if you wasn't there, then just look at these pictures and look at the facial expressions of the Africans that are on here, proud to be on those grounds, raising that African flag in a St. Louis community who has never seen anything like this be done before.
And lastly, we have, this is the last two set of questions, and they are for Aaliyah West. Aaliyah, is there anything that you would like to say to the audience?
Stay black.
I said two questions, so we have one more. Is there anything that you would like to say to the chairman?
Stay the chairman.
All right, thank you.
So I just really wanted to appreciate everybody that's associated with the ODC. One of the things that we wanted to do this particular Congress is we really wanted to present what we've done over the past 5 years in a different kind of way. So we chose to do it this way. I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to share, the work that they've done over the past 5 years. And I know that Opa, Pete, who else didn't speak? Who? Janine. I think Janine did say something, didn't? A little bit. A little bit. But we wanted to really I really wanted to put the team forward. It's not about me. It's about all the work that you do for the African community, and I wanted to convey that, through this workshop. So I was given a note saying that we were way past time, and I really wanted to have the chairman come up to sum up, and then if we had a little bit of time, I wanted to open it up for questions and answers. So I wanted to bring the chairman up to really just sum up, and we all can stay here. He can sit right here. He can sit there. But move the table. You can move the table. Tachara, you can sit. No.
Q&A session now.
Yeah, because we had to. We are way over time.
Okay.
Yeah. Come over, Chairman. He can sit right here.
It works. I think what I'll do, we are way behind time, is simply participate in the question and answers that will happen at this point.
So we're going to be taking questions and answers from the audience. So if you don't have a question, if you have a comment about any of the work in the ODC, the economic work, please come forward.
I'd like to say that when we talk about the politic being concentrated economics, I was the first of our party and movement to come here. And I came here after the assassination of Mike Brown. I was in the middle of the Vanguard discussion on yesterday, and I sort of broke out into laughter. Most people didn't know what it was, but on August 30th, 2014, I had become a part of what was supposed to be the Mike Brown Committee. And a lot of people were supposed to be speaking on this platform, and I was one of them. And when they delayed before bringing me up on the platform, these were the people who were controlling the mobilizations and things like that. And when I finally got to the platform and I started to speak, I may have spoken 15 seconds, and I said revolution. And I was literally bum rushed off the platform. I was literally bum rushed, pushed off the platform. And that same day, the masses of people, they were becoming disgusted with that mobilization. And because they had promised they were going to march from Canfield Drive, where Mike Brown had been killed, to the police station. And the people wanted to march on the police station. So I moved with the people to the police station, because instead of going to the police station, they went to this empty park where there was nobody. And the people were disgusted with that. And so I marched with the people to the police station. It was at the police station that I got access to a microphone. And as the people learned in the banquet yesterday, and the comrades are learning right here, you cannot give me a microphone. And as a consequence of that, we won a lot. I mean, literally, a lot. I mean, there were thousands of people who were out there in the streets, and we changed the tenor of the entire process, and it was important. Because one of the things that struck me all along with these mobilizations, demonstrations and things, was that there was no to what end. It was just march, demonstrate, protest. And sometimes they placed ridiculous restrictions on the people who were marching. You have to be silent. You can't say anything. You can't carry a poster. Or they would march and everybody would go, hands up, don't shoot. And sometimes literally getting on their knees with their hands up and what have you. And people who we were working with, people who we had met in the community, and one person who was not mentioned that helped us to come in. And her name at the time, we were looking for somebody in St. Louis that we knew. We went through the subscriptions of the Burning Spear and discovered this sister. Her name was Denise Justice. And I thought it was a name that somebody would have adopted. I didn't know that was, like her real name. And I called her from the Burning Spear subscription list and asked her if she could help us. She took the day off, met us, and took us into Ferguson. That's how we got there. And there were other people who we were working with. And I was constantly saying that we have to move beyond just demonstration. There must be a to what end is involved in it. And that's why we're here 4 years later, because the politic is nothing but concentrated economics. And the politic of African internationalism required us to fight for economic self-reliance and as a response to the colonial terror, colonial domination of our people. And so I just wanted to make that contribution. That's what brought us in here. That's how we came in off that wave. That's what allowed us to meet Columbayi. She was a person in one of the marches I was involved in where you weren't supposed to talk and you couldn't carry any signs, and she was walking behind me, this young woman walking behind me as we were marching. And as we were marching, the comrade who was with me was doing a video, perhaps, I don't remember if it was live stream or not, but was doing a video, and I was talking, and she heard me talking. And that's why she followed me, and that's why she's here today. And part of what I'm saying is why we're here today. That's why Black Power 90, that's why Black Power Brooklyn is here today. And, you know, going straight to the masses of people where the profound contradictions are concentrated. And so this is a response to that. Uhuru. Yeah.
Uhuru. Mic's not on. Uhuru. Uhuru. First, I'd like to salute Chairman and DC owner, and also the whole office of the Deputy Chair. And one of the questions I have is regarding when I do the burning spiel, like sell the burning spiel in the street, and I show like the Black Power blueprint and all of that. And I know you show all these institutions about, you know, for the African, you know, African masses or whatnot. So one of the questions that come up most of the time is, you know, people want to get involved voluntarily, but also they want to get, like, you know, employed as well. And I was wondering, has there been discussion, you know, possibly in the future, like having, like, in a sphere, like having, like, you know, job postings, like, you know, like for Africans, like in the sphere, or also like, what else? That's one thing that's came from the Burning Spear outreach. But also, I guess in the other, I've got the other question, part of that question, but that's just a start right there, but yeah.
Your question was can we advertise job openings?
Jobs, yes, jobs,
yeah. We can do that. I don't think we've ever done that before. We have a website.
Mm-hmm.
We have a PDF website. We have the Uhuru Furniture blogs. We have the different entities that we post a different jobs on. But yes, we could put that at the bottom of our ODC page, or ask Director Achille, can we designate a spot in the Burning Spear just for job openings within the movement?
Uhuru. And also, I know
Just, but I want to say that we can do that, and we create institutions that do employ people. Someone mentioned the One Africa, One Nation, or if not employ people, certainly provide economic resources, both of them for people. And it was mentioned the One Africa, One Nation marketplace in Philadelphia, where from 80 to 120 vendors come. They feed their families through that process. They defend it in part because it gives them the means by which they can do that. The thing is that where we can, and we will, and we do provide opportunities for people to work. But your task and the task of our people on the ground has to be bringing people to the revolution, to the party, because we are not an employment agency as such. And at the point where people assume that I want to join this because I'm going to get this money, that money from it, we're on a dangerous trajectory.
Yes.
People need to be won to freedom. That's why we've talked about some of this other stuff. We have had people who come into this office of the deputy chair whose interest is in making money, getting money. And because of that, they have betrayed the movement, they have betrayed almost everything, and they will do that. They'll do it because, first of all, if they don't get enough money, they're going to do something else. We've had Africans, and you've got to remember this, that Africans are people who work for nothing forever. And then we have a tradition. We learn how, when we come to work, you do as little as you have to do to get as much as you can. And part of what going to work means, Moms Mabley, who was an old comedian used to have a line that was supposed to be a joke. She said, "I won't work nowhere I can't steal." Right? And so what you have is that Africans learn that to beat the employer, and that's what we are talking about, becoming employers. And you learn to beat the employer, to get everything you can. There are Africans who came to the furniture store and set up their own businesses, taking our resources and selling them in other places. So that's why the real question, our job in these communities where our people live, is to take the revolution to the people, because people want revolution, and we say through revolution, through this struggle, we will find a way to feed, clothe, and house ourselves, and that's the process that we have to win people.
And I know the rest of my question. Sometimes when Africans try to find jobs as well, you know, they may be these jobs that acquire a lot of like skills or things like that. Can you speak on the jobs program for those Africans who may be intimidated by those jobs, or what, if they were?
He was talking about sometimes the requirements when people are looking for work, having to have certain kinds of skills, and what is it in terms of the jobs program. And I think he's talking about the workforce program that we are putting forth.
You talked about the African Independence Workforce Program?
Yes.
Well, let me just say that I came into the party and I really didn't have any skills. Everything that I've learned through doing the work.
Praxis.
You know, I mean, I had some skills. You know, I won't say I didn't have any, but we're looking for the average person who is willing to just take on the work and research and find out how to do the job. But we also have expertise in our office that, you know, we have manuals, as I was showing you earlier. We have all the tools that we need. I believe in giving the people the tools that they need to do the job, you know, besides actually being, you know, taking initiative to learn what you don't know. You know, we're very big on, you know, research. You know, we go out and research because there's a lot of things that we don't know how to do. I mean, Dr. Aisha Fields took on the whole question of Zenzele without any experience at all in that field, and she has taken, you could see where Zenzele is right now after 3 years. It's because she took it on to make it happen, and that's the kind of skills that we need in our people to really, for us to be free.
Uhuru. Thank you. Uhuru. At one point, we were discussing the thing that how much better off it's going to be for us to have people who are cadre, who come into the party to go into these institutions and run these institutions. Employees won't do what's necessary. We had somebody managing our gym, and in the gym, because the roof was flat, so in Florida, it rains all the time. And when it rains, you got to get on that roof and you got to sweep that water off the roof, or it's going to come through. It's going to have all kinds of problems. If you got somebody who's supposed to manage the gym, and we know when it rains, that's what's going to happen, and they won't sweep the roof off. They won't do that if it's just a job. They're not going to climb to the top of that roof and do it. We need to have people that say, this is my institution, you know, and treat it like that, and we'll go out and do what's necessary to make that successful. It's a different ball game. It's a different force that we're looking for now. We're winning people to revolution, and you cannot get a good job on the damn slave plantation. I don't care how it looks. It's not a good job. Your employment, you know, you have to be involved in the struggle to overturn slavery, and that's what working in these institutions have to be about. And people have to be conscious of doing that. That's what I like about Ali. That's what I like about Janice, and I'm trying to figure out why Ali and Janice have not yet joined the African People's Socialist Party.
Oh, Chairman, you gonna put me on blast like that? Wow. Well, I guess I won't be leaving here without it. The chairman had called me out, y'all. Wow. All right. Wow. So I just wanted to add to just the whole thought process of being employed with the movement as opposed to being employed in traditional workplaces. Like for myself, I've never done anything that I wasn't passionate about. I didn't care, I didn't really care how much it paid. If I didn't like it and I didn't think that I could spend 8 hours a day doing it, and I wasn't going to spend my time being somewhere with a bunch of people that I hated who couldn't stand me and, they wanted to oppress me. I'm just not doing it. Telling me when I can go to the bathroom and all that kind of foolishness. So I just knew that I had a unique set of skills and I was looking for where I could apply those skills. And then that was what it was about. It wasn't what I could get from it other than the satisfaction of knowing that I was fighting for my people, because I already knew that I was a revolutionary. And I needed to find some place to express that. And so I did it through being an artist and running the poetry scene and stuff like that. But it was still about revolution. And I realized now that I was doing those things to prepare me to do this. So, uhuru.
Uhuru. I would like to salute the leadership of DC because, as she said, she took people with no skills and put them to use. Me, I got asthma, so I can't be around dust and I can't paint. And then I can't draw, I can't paint. And they still found work for me building the Uhuru House, And, with the whole coming up and seeing the Uhuru House in a material way, because when Comrade Kake first showed us that building, he was like, yeah, we got our building now, because we was meeting at Legacy Books, and he was like, we got our building, and he was so excited. I was like, all right, I can't wait, and then we drive up to the Uhuru House, and I'm like, first of all, we don't got no floors. Second, do you know where we are? It's no bathrooms and it's hot, there's no air. I don't know what this is, but this ain't it. And he was like, nah. DC said this gonna be the Uhuru House, and I believe this gonna be the Uhuru House because he trusted his leadership. And just being, joining in Pedum and then being in the NTU brigade, seeing it come to life in a material way, because me, I'm a member of Impedum, so I'm out recruiting, and they like, well, you talk real good, but I want to see something, because a lot of people talk real good, because Dr. Umar, he said he was building this school, and he talking, what he be saying sounded real nice, but I haven't seen this school and it's been 2 years. I'm like, well, you gonna see this Uhuru House, and then they pull by and they hunky their horse, it's the Uhuru House, and then they see the flag go up. And when we first started demolishing the buildings, I kid you not, 3 people called me and was like, they trying to scare y'all off, they knocking down the buildings. I'm like, girl, that's us, but I'm glad you know this. Yeah, so salute to everybody in the office, and I really appreciate the leadership. Uhuru.
That's Comrade Naila, a 16-year-old high school student that I was talking to you about earlier. She was doing something else when I mentioned her, but she was doing choir rehearsal. But she is also responsible for outreach for the Keep 28 project we're involved in. She's responsible for recruitment, membership in the local International People's Democratic Organization branch. She's just an incredible force, and she's also the youth liaison and for the national office of the International People's Democratic Movement.
Uhuru Chairman, Uhuru Deputy Chair, I really want to appreciate your leadership, and I want to appreciate the comrades on the stage and the other comrades that are here. Without the work of these comrades, nothing would come to fruition. And my question is, a comment and a question. One, we have seen the legacy, we are living the history now of the productivity of the Black Power Blueprint and of Black Star Industries. We are living it now, living, breathing that success. So in that, my question is and I might be off point here, but forecasting and looking at things, has anyone else from any other organization come to you all and asked you, because of the success of the Black Power Blueprint, to utilize that model? And have you also gone to our connection, of course, with the BIBC? Has any other organization of the BIBC themselves asked to utilize the Black Star Industries model or the Black Power Blueprint model? I appreciate that, Uhuru.
Uhuru, well, I don't know about the BIBC, but the comrade who just left, I know has been trying to kidnap Deputy Chair, and that is Comrade Charles Barron. You know, and this is why we appreciate them, because they really want to make the struggle. So I know he has been trying to figure out how they can implement some of what we do in terms of the Black Power Blueprint to really carry out this notion that all politics is just concentrated economics. But that's a good question, because you really see this class question come to the forefront around even this economic question. Because you would think that everybody who is trying to build something economically and has not been able to do it would be wanting to work with us, to replicate what we do, and to receive us with open arms. In fact, we go to some meetings where they talk about an economic plan every week, and they haven't moved any further this week than they did last week. And sometimes they even acknowledge it right before they allow us to give a presentation on the Black Power Blueprint, because we asked to give the presentation on the Black Power Blueprint, but they don't come to us and really try to work with us in any real serious way, because they know we are a party of the African working class. And you know, they have other interests, which usually involve figuring out a way for them to, you know, renaming the project. They want to pursue some kind of relationship with the white ruling class. You know, so we don't see this as much as we would assume that we should, and that people, you know, people don't come to us as much as one would assume they would. But it is the African working class that is really connected to this project. You know, the ones who live on Redbud, the ones who live on West Florissant, where the Uhuru House is, and who see that flag go up in a community that has been starved of any economic development since its colonial founding. So that's how I would answer that, Uhuru.
Uhuru.
The only thing I would contribute to that answer is the fact that it has been more than 2 generations since the defeat of the Black Revolution of the 60s. We talk about Panthers, we talk about eras of revolutionary struggle that happened around the world. People understood things differently at that point. African workers understood, even the petty bourgeoisie had to look at things differently at that point. Killing the revolution has meant that we've had instead groups and organizations who might get involved in occasional protests, but it's not designed to do what the revolution was designed to do, which is to overturn our oppression and create new systems. So even people who call themselves militants, who call themselves revolutionary and communists and black nationalists, all expect that whatever it is they're working for will be accomplished within the context of the existing social system. One thing that distinguishes us is that we are serious when we say we are preparing to govern. If you're not talking about power, then it's a ridiculous discussion to be having. So they cannot do what we do. What they will do instead is they hear the legitimacy of what we're talking about, they hear how we characterize things, and you will see coming back at us in St. Louis and other places something about the blueprint for this, right? We've seen that, haven't we? And we see people now talking about dual power across the spectrum within the black nationalist movement. And they act like it's something that they just discovered. the term dual power in terms of our struggle in this country, in terms of the black liberation movement, was not ever used until I coined the term in a paper that I wrote, and then until in what, 79, 76, something to that effect, and the actual things that we have created since that time. So that's what you'll see, because they're not about trying to overturn the system. They really don't believe it's possible to overturn the system, or they really think they can find a solution within the existing system. For them, they like to talk about things like duopoly and the Republicans and the Democratic Party, even at the time when the Republicans and the Democrats don't believe in the Republican and the Democratic Party. Even when it's clear that masses of African people are looking for other solutions, they are restraining what it is that they're trying to do within the context of the existing social system and the existing arrangement. Even Trump went beyond the existing arrangement. And these guys have much more faith and confidence in the system that Trump did. Even they would not come out against the FBI, the CIA. Even they would not talk about the fake news. Even they would try to couch their ambitions and aspirations in language that the ruling class would love to hear. But what we saw, August 9th, 2014, the language was not politely couched on Canfield Drive by the African working class. They did not say, let's have a prayer meeting after they killed that boy. They said, kill the police. Kill the police. And that was the thing that we heard, because the African working class was trying to find its way back into political life, and it's our responsibility to provide leadership for that class that so desperately wants to be free. Uhuru.
Uhuru. We just want to give another round of applause to the Office of the Deputy Chair, Deputy Chair Onizineye Shatella, Chairman Omalia Shatella, for a tremendous report. It was phenomenal. We really appreciate the work. It was evident that this is our time as the African People's Socialist Party. This is our time as the Uhuru movement, and you are the leader of this organization to help take us where we need to go. So thank you, comrade. Uhuru.
Uhuru,
Sorry.
1 second. They really wanted to ask a question. Can we? Oh.
What happened? Okay, sure. What happened?
Uhuru comrades. Uhuru comrades. First off, on behalf of Unión del Barrio, we just wanted to express our gratitude for you all sharing your collective experience and knowledge. It's really inspirational to us as an organization, being that we just had our Congress last year, and so seeing all the work that you all are doing, a lot of the work that we've approved to push through for the next several years of work aligns, and there are a lot of parallels. With that being said, that we are in the earlier stages of all of this beautiful work and powerful work that's going on, and we will get to this stage one day. It's not a hope. And so, as the chairman referenced yesterday, that this is our vulnerable spot, right? Learning these institutions that are colonial, these economic institutions, and us living in the belly of the beast, and acknowledging that to some degree we will have to interact with these colonial economic institutions, whether it be credit unions or banks. In your experience, what are some of the attacks or lessons that you all have learned in getting to this place? And for lack of a better term, what are the best practices that you all have learned to protect yourselves as an organization, a revolutionary organization building towards economic independence?
Well, First of all, I want to say that it's not going to be as long as you suggest before you get there, because it doesn't have to be. And because we didn't have access to the kind of information that we have now and expertise when we first started this process. And a real problem that we have as colonized people, and certainly as working class, is that we are not trained to do what is needed to do. Even when we go to school to get education, we don't get education that takes us into how to establish our economic institutions and economic life. We get channeled into other kinds of education. And the thing is that we, in the process of doing this work, we've made many errors as well. We've had profound errors that we've made, and but what we've learned is that the biggest protection, to the extent that we can have protection, is the involvement of the masses of the people. That we have to really work to incorporate the people into the process. We mentioned the institutions that we have. First of all, I want to remind you what Comrade Naila said. She's 16 years old. The children in her high school, perhaps children is not the best word to use, but they saw on the news, they saw the buildings coming down. And they say, are they attacking you? This is what the people think. And she said, no, that's us. We did that, you understand? And to the extent that we really work hard to win the people. Every institution, go to the furniture store in Philadelphia, go to the market that we have in St. Petersburg, Florida, go anywhere, and every institution, what you will see is that we promote the polity, what we stand for. We talk about anti-colonialism, self-determination for the African people, etc. So that is the economic work we do, also contributes to political education, the masses of people, and winning the people to the kind of solidarity that they should have. It doesn't always, we are not always as effective as we need to be. But every failure that I can think of has occurred because we have not won that struggle of winning the masses. The masses, people need to know, believe, that's why we say buy black power. And that's why you have to be able to say buy Mexican power, you know, buy this. That's why you really have to say that. And not only does it serve, because Africans and Mexicans and other people, first of all, we want to buy a place where it's cheapest for us, because we ain't got no money. But people need to be won to recognizing that these corporations, everything, they can buy in such volume, they can sell everything cheaper than what you can sell them. So they should never pass a Mexican store. They should never pass an African store to get to the colonizer's store. They should say, this is mine. You know, we have to win that, and that's a process that we're involved in. So it's not the easiest thing in the world. And then the other thing about it is that there are various rules that the bourgeoisie has created that's important for us to know and recognize. That's why we have to create a certain kind of expertise in our own ranks. I used to have a comrade who was a lawyer, and he would work with us, and he had no respect at all for the law, none whatsoever. He understood, as we understood, Stan, that law is simply the opinion of the ruling class, but you got to know it. You got to know it to re-function in some of these institutions. We've come close to making errors in some of the institutions that we control, and have to come back and meet and say, you shouldn't have said that, because if you say that, you open us up to attack on this particular institution, which is, what do you call it? Which is a 501c3 or something like that, and cannot legally engage in certain kinds of things. The bourgeoisie doesn't care about law either. That's a dictatorship of the ruling class. That means rule without regard for law. They don't care about law. until they want to use it as a weapon against us, or until they engage in some kind of struggle among themselves. But you need to know the law. You need to know the principles, and you certainly need to know certain kinds of economic principles and how various things function. And so what we've done over a number of years, that's why we're talking about we can teach other people how to do this. We're coming up with ANIBA, the African National Independence Business Association, because we've gathered enough expertise. We got people who are becoming experts in this particular arena, and they're more competent. So the bourgeoisie will attack you if all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed. They will attack you. They attacked Marcus Garvey, and Garvey hadn't committed any offense. But they'll make, if there's not an offense existing on the book, they'll make one just for us. So there's no guarantee except what we win among the masses of our people, and our ability to always be able to convince the people of our legitimacy, even as it relates to carrying through the rules that the white man said, And I just want to repeat, this is a new era that we must understand. We, that is to say, those of us who consider ourselves revolutionary and trying to provide leadership for the oppressed masses, we must understand it's a whole new period. Nobody believes this shit anymore. Nobody believes in this system, and we'll make a mistake if we show the system more respect than the masses show the system. Call on the people to move, the people will move if we treat them correctly, and if we operate in a very principled and organized fashion. So I think sometimes we do make that mistake. And we have gone into situations where the people are ready to do something, and then we are the backwards forces that won't have the courage, are not bold enough. When I say bold, bold is different from reckless. Bold is different from reckless. I'm not calling on anybody to be reckless. We don't sacrifice our resources, and in most instances what we try to do is keep a reserve so that if we hit, we're not going to be absolutely naked, right? And they're going to hit us. They're going to hit everything that we're talking about now. They're going to come at our assets, right? And our assets. So that's what they're going to do. There's no way we can guarantee that they won't do it. The only thing we can do is prepare the masses and bring the masses into this process so that the people will defend their own institutions. What we are talking about moving forward, we've recognized that genuine revolutionary movement has to be talking about occupying space, occupying territory, geography, occupying ideological space, political space. Freedom is not some abstract thing. Struggle is not abstraction. We have to occupy these spaces and win the people in these spaces to where it is that we all need to go. That's what meaning the leadership, the advanced detachment has to mean. And we have to accept the responsibility for leading, which means that we're going to make some problems. We're going to have contradictions and make some errors in the process of doing that, but we got to fight for that space. And I want all the space. That flag goes up. We told the African community, this is our space. And Africans off the street have come up and told us that we are going to defend this flag. They said nobody is going to mess with this flag. And these are not black nationalists. These are not people who've been involved in the movement. These are people who recognize that we're claiming our own space. Anyway, I've over-talked it, and I have a tendency to do that. I hope I was helpful.
All right, now thank you, ODC. All right.
Can we get about 5 people to help move stuff on stage?
One Africa.
One nation.
One Africa.
One nation.
One nation.
One Africa.
One nation. No compromise. No compromise. No compromise. All right. So, just so you know, I want to give a few announcements. We're going to be closing for the day in just a few moments. We're going to have a short summation by Secretary General Louise Kinshasa, who will help us to sum up the day.
Always love you.
You can sit it down.
Yeah.
They not.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We want to invite everyone and let you know that starting tomorrow, the Congress will convene at the Uhuru House. All right, so we'll be in the Uhuru House for the remainder of the Congress, Monday through Friday. We're at 4101 West Florissant in St. Louis. We're going to have a flag raising tomorrow. The flag raising is at 8:40 a.m., so we're asking everyone to be in place by 8:30. Who's going to be at the flag raising tomorrow at 8:30? By show of hands. You do not want to miss this flag raising, okay? So be at the Uhuru House by 8:30 a.m. for the flag raising, and it's going to begin sharply at 8:40, okay? So I want to pass it over to Secretary General Louise Kinshasa.
Uhuru. Uhuru. We are winning.
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 So there is not much to say, just to recognize the victories you have seen for yourself, the victories in the economic front, the victories of our brother Charles Barron in New York. You've seen the victories with the cultural work being done under the leadership of Comrade Alicia. So we are winning. We are winning. We are winning. We are winning. So we're going to resume. We're going to close today, and we're going to resume tomorrow, as you heard from Comrade Aisha, at 8:30 tomorrow at the Uhuru House. Uhuru! Uhuru!
We just want to remind everybody that what time are we going to go cool? At 7 p.m. And a little more than an hour from now, people are going to be going to eat at Go Cool.